Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Q Lads channel. We are back for the final round of the Rugby Championship. This one, the Wallabies taking on the All Blacks at Optus Stadium, a location where these two sides have gone 1-1, and that pretty much epitomises this whole Rugby Championship. It has been a seesaw between the four sides. At the moment, the way that the table sits, theoretically, three sides can still win the Rugby Championship. The only side that cannot is Los Pumas, but they can cause a certain favourite to not win in this matchup. But looking through at the way that the table sits, New Zealand sitting 3-2, Australia sitting 2-3. But so far, the head-to-heads throughout the Rugby Championship have gone 1-1, and Australia at home for this matchup. Looking through at their lineup, they've made a few changes compared to what we saw in Test match number 1. James Slipper, he brings up his 151st cap. That man's just never going to stop playing for the Wallabies at this point. Billy Pollard managing to score himself a try last week. He slots in at 2, and Alan Alatoa actually makes his way into the starting side rather than off the bench. Last week it was Tini Alatupo. Again, looked like he was nursing a bit of an injury, but he is instead making his way off the bench for this contest. In the locking duo, it will be Nick Frost as the number 4, and a massive, and I mean massive, return in the number 5 jersey. Will Skelton comes back to help out the Wallabies for this game. He is a huge individual. He brings physicality. He's going to make it awkward for the All Blacks when it comes to those breakdowns, because Big Skelton just loves that physical battle. And he hasn't got a Tupavai across from him in this game. Instead, it is actually Fabian Holland who we will find up against him in this match. Tom Hooper slots in as the number 6. Fraser McRae at 7. And Harry Wilson is the number 8 for this game. Tom Hooper, he's an underappreciated part of this Australian loose forward trio. McRae is right up there with tackles made throughout the competition, currently sitting in 2nd. And then Harry Wilson, he is always dangerous when he has that ball and his grasp in the back line. 2 changes here for the Wallabies in the 9 and 10 combination. Jake Gordon slots in as the starting halfback for this game, with Tane Edmed as the number 10. Now, we did see the injury of Tate McDermott last week. Looked like it was hamstring related, so he has gone from the lineup, and rather than going with Ryan Lonergan, who made his debut last week, they have thrown Jake Gordon back into the starting side. Tate Edmed, he takes over for James O'Connor from that number 10 jersey, although O'Connor will still feature off of the bench in this match. Leonard Cattell and Joseph Suali'i, they make up the midfield. We're getting to that stage of the competition now, how whoever has a good week here and whoever scores themselves some tries will end up as that number 1 try scorer for the whole competition. Suali'i currently sits at the top of the bunch. He has got himself 4. I believe there are about 4 players just behind him on 3. But for now, Suali'i at the top of that mountain. Filippo Dangunu, he comes in as the left wing starter for this game. No Corey Toole for the Wallabies in this contest. Harry Potter out on the right wing yet again. And Max Jorgensen slots in as the number 15. Looking through at this All Blacks lineup for this contest, it will be Tamaiti Williams, Cody Taylor, and Fletcher Null as the front row. No Ethan Agroot due to his HIA. And alongside that, we see the change in the 3 jersey due to Tyrell Lomax breaking that thumb that he did only break a few weeks ago. Scott Barrett, he returns after his shoulder injury. He will be partnering with Fabian Holland in the locking duo. Now, that was not the initial announcement for New Zealand. It was going to be Barrett alongside Tupavai, but Vai pulling out late due to a bit of a knee injury. So hopefully he will be all right for the November internationals. In the loose forward trio, we see a bit of a change, but Simon Parker, he's been consistent for New Zealand throughout this season. He plays the number 6. Artie Savia back to co-captain as the number 7, with Peter Larkai getting his first international start. He will be playing as the number 8. Cam Roigard and Damien McKenzie will partner in the 9 and 10 combination. No Bowden Barrett due to a shoulder injury here. So Scott just coming back from one and Bowden just getting one at just the wrong time for the ABs. But there is still a Barrett in the back line, and that is Geordie Barrett. He knows this stadium well. He got himself a red card at this location last time these two sides played. Quinn Tupaia, he will play the number 13 jersey. And I believe it is for the first time since 2023 across all competitions that Tupaia has been a starting 13. So this is a big change, but he looks strong off the bench for New Zealand, so I'd assume that he'll be able to pick up from where he left off, but no Billy Proctor in this lineup whatsoever for New Zealand. At Optus Stadium, Lester Whainanukū, he will return for the first time since 2023 to play in that World Cup for the Kiwis. Now gets his chance back at international level. Leroy Carter, he is out on the right wing, and then Will Jordan, he will slot in as the 15, and this is his 50th match for New Zealand. But those are the starting lineups, ladies and gentlemen. I see that there are a lot of messages in the chat, so we will try our best to be able to read as many of them as physically possible. But a massive shout out to all of you being here so early for this game. We are sitting hopefully just under the hour away from kickoff, because the thing is, sometimes with an Australian game, they do delay it. And of course, with this game also taking place at Optus Stadium in Perth, it does mean it's actually an early evening kickoff for them over there, whereas for us here in New Zealand, it's going to be running past midnight. We have got there the All Blacks 49-17 as Highlanders fan predictions are going pretty one-sided in that regard. Let's go, says Piniana. And I like that they're playing at this neutral venue, the honorary South African city of Perth, says Arno. And they have had a couple really strong battles at this location before. Like I mentioned, it is 1-1. Australia were able to win one contest up against New Zealand at Optus, and the Kiwis able to win one also. But in both games, New Zealand have got themselves a red card. So whether or not that's going to happen here, we, of course, will have to wait and see. Here we go, New Zealand, says Amelia there. Good morning, sir. Says Sakabulla, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Noodles Gamer has said, hi, Hamish, I'm watching from Perth. How is the weather at the moment for yourself, Noodles? I know that there were talks that maybe there was going to be some rain around for this contest. Once the coverage picks up in 9 minutes for us here, we'll be able to see exactly what it looks like at the game. We have got the slippers going bye-bye after this game, says Kiwi Rob, and also hi all, says Robert. And then morning from the UK, says Bacon. Yeah, two massive games taking place for the Rugby Championship today. What time does it actually start? So it is scheduled to start at 9:45 p.m. or 10:45 p.m. But normally the games in South Africa, they do often have about a 10-minute delay from the kickoff time that they tell everyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game actually kicks off at 10:55 New Zealand time. But once the coverage comes up, normally they have a stand countdown down in the bottom corner, and that will tell us exactly when it is actually going to be starting. Cheers for the coverage, Hamish. Good to see you again, mate. Says Jay Lincoln. It is great to have so many of you here already for this matchup. Throughout the build-up, we're going to be looking through at these teams, what is to come in November as well for the sides, as well as world ranking points that are on the line for this game. And then also alongside that, a few of the other interesting stats from this Rugby Championship as the competition reaches its conclusion. There's been a lot of excitement. I think that this has been one of the best Rugby Championships we have seen maybe ever. At the moment, we have got there Tamati Williams. Is that kia ora? Have you ever commentated for the horses? I have not, but I've been told I could either do that or an auctioneer. Those are the two that I've said that I've missed my calling card on. We have got, I hope New Zealand wins, but the Aussies aren't out of this at home. Absolutely, and I think Australia will come into this game with a certain level of determination. New Zealand will know for any chance of winning this Rugby Championship, they have to not just win this game, but also hope that Argentina will win their game at Twickenham. And sometimes when you're in that scenario, knowing that at best you could end up second, that can sometimes switch off that killer mentality of certain players. So that is where someone like an Ardie Savia is really going to have to step up and get his side going. But the thing is, he's vice-captain. Scott Barrett, he's the man in charge. He's going to have to start talking to these boys and see whether or not he can find that next gear, because I think they're going to need it up against this Wallaby side. They're looking strong on paper. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do on the field as well. We have got the Expelliarmus, says Distracted Sports. Welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well. We have got the hi Hamish, enjoy the game, mate. Thanks again for the commentary and for the interesting discussion along the way for and during the game, says Joss. And we have got plenty more coming up on the channel. We've got the build-up for the Argentina versus South Africa match as well. There'll be a lot to talk about regarding this game as well as that one. Moving forward, can I ask you a question, sir? Please, is it okay with you? It depends on what the question is, Noodles Gamer. Unless that was the question, then in which case, yes, you can. We have got their morning all the way from South Africa. I'm doing some shopping, but have my headphones on, says Bongi there. So hopefully it all goes smoothly for yourself. Is it anything to do with a braai? Perhaps. I know that there will be plenty of braais taking place in South Africa throughout the afternoon with that last match of the Rugby Championship and maybe the celebrations if the Boks go on to win the competition. Give us your score prediction, please, mate, says Marius. So I did end up going with 38 points to 23 in favour of New Zealand. Now, that was my initial one, I think, or it was 37-22. Either way, I think it was split by 15 points. Where's David Harvilli? Injured, playing NPC at the moment, David Harvilli. We have got their morning from the UK, says Thikoloshe in there as well. I'm in Perth at the moment. It's just sprinkling rain. But we are supposed to get more rain. That is not what we want to hear. We want to see a nice, fast-paced running game of rugby. We finished commentating a game yesterday between the Dragons and the Sharks, and the rain really did affect that contest. It was 17-all in the end, so it did go down to the wire. Maybe a draw is not off the cards in this regard, but both of these sides like I mentioned, they can theoretically still get themselves a Rugby Championship victory. We have got there from Kiwi Rob, you call yourself the Kiwi lads, but you haven't done any NPC final round games yet. Says Kiwi Rob, fun fact, it's been quite busy. There's international rugby at the moment, and we've also been doing the URC throughout the night. So very hard to do multiple games at the same time, and also we still need to sleep. We have got there, why you're not covering cricket match between New Zealand and Australia. The problem at the moment is most of the time going into those games, you know who's going to win because New Zealand's find a way to butcher it every time they play the Aussies. And we have got there, be ready for a great game, says Stephen, in there too. And we have got there, hey Bulla mate, says Vitilai in there as well. Right, we're almost caught up with the chat. I did have to miss a few messages. I do very much so apologise, but I will go back and read them when we get underway. The URC are boring and they don't have any Kiwis in it. That is just a complete lie. So obviously you don't watch the NPC because there are plenty of New Zealanders throughout that competition. Been at the conference all day, just chilling, enjoying Hamish describe the game, says Rob. And there as well, and we better look through at the benches while we are at it. We did the starting lineups just before, but these are the players who'll be making their way off the bench for these two sides. For Australia, they have got Josh Nasser as at number 16, so no Brandon Paanga-Mosa for this matchup. Tom Robertson slots in at 7 with Taniela Tupou as at number 8. Now, I know that he had a bit of an injury like I mentioned last week, so I wonder whether or not that is more so strategic to only give him less minutes at the end of the contest, but I also think it's to enforce that physicality alongside someone like a Ryan Lonergan. We have seen Australia be extremely effective during the later stages of the rounds, and I just feel like at the moment, that is where, if they are going to win this game, they will. That doesn't really make sense as a sentence. But Australia, the last 20 minutes, that's where New Zealand's been struggling a little bit to find their rhythm. Now, having Patrick Tuipulotu off the bench, I think makes a massive difference for New Zealand. It adds that little bit more grunt. Also having someone, I know that he's not the most popular, but Rieko Ioane, that experience later on in a game can be massive. Definitely when you look across from him and James O'Connor's there as the number 22. Also off the bench, Jeremy Williams, he's been solid for Australia so far. Josh Fluke gets a massive opportunity here in Perth. And then for the Kiwis, they have got the youngster Ruben Love looking to get some real minutes in this contest. He's been lacking them throughout this Rugby Championship. In fact, he's been lacking them throughout 2025. He really does get a start, and it definitely, with Will Jordan's 50th, wasn't going to be this game unless they looked at him as a fly half rather than in that 15 jersey. We also see the return of George Bauer. That is due to the injuries of Ethan de Groot as well as Ollie Norris. So a couple big blows there for New Zealand as they head towards November, where a squad could look very different from what we have been seeing. Now we have got the I'm rooting for New Zealand, says Jeremy. And also go AB's greetings from Germany. And later, the box for you to take, says Peter there. And also we're good there now, can confirm no Kiwis in the NPC, says Red 7. And also I think the Wallabies will get the job done, says Scotty's Encounters. They are a lot closer in this game compared to what we did see in the other side of the equation, which was New Zealand, Eden Park, not so much in favour of the Aussies for the odds. My question is, can you do the coverage of the grand final tomorrow in the NRL, if that is okay? I didn't even realise it was taking place tomorrow night. I thought it was tonight that the NRL grand final was happening. Perhaps we could look at it as a potential option. I'm not too sure yet. I don't want to confirm anything just in case we don't end up doing it. A shot for this, I couldn't watch it on Sky because my dad is watching on Sky Sport. Says Rico there. And also, we're good there, Mr. Kiwi lads. Where are you from? Planning to tour South Africa next year with the greatest rivalry tour, says Martin. So I am from New Zealand. I have not got any plans of going over yet. But I have mentioned it within the next 3 or so years. I'd like to be able to do it at some point. I think Australia will do South Africa a favour. See, the thing is, though, Australia, if they got themselves a bonus point, right, they wouldn't actually be doing South Africa a favour at all. In fact, they put their name in the hat a little bit more. Because if you look at this Australian side, their points differential, right, that is actually a little bit closer than New Zealand's. So it's intriguing, but no matter what, it goes into that last game at Twickenham with South Africa needing the victory. And if they can do that, they will secure that Rugby Championship. And they are the favourites to be able to do so. They have had a very strong competition. Even in the games that they've lost, they've looked competitive. Yes, they had a bit of a shaky start up against the Australians, but from there they have really fought back well. They lost that Eden Park test match by a narrow margin, and, you know, their last 2 games, you got to look at that points differential. 115 points, I believe it is, from their last 2 matches of the Rugby Championship. So, pretty insane numbers. In fact, I might have been lying there. 110 points from their last 2 games, exaggerating it a little bit, but only by the extra 5 points. The URC is great, especially watching Stormers bank Leinster last week. Biased though, I'm a South African, says Arno, and we are, of course, going to be covering that game later on the channel between Leinster and the Bulls, so be sure to keep an eye out for that one as well. Go the All Blacks, says Douglas. Is this game on Rugby Pass TV? I don't believe it is, but I know that depending on the region that you're in, it may be on NZR+. That is somewhere that you can catch some of the rugby every once in a while, depending on the country that you're in. Had to pay a month subscription on Stan just for this game, says Jake Tower. Do they still have the free trial option? I know that they used to have that for Stan Sport, but they may have got rid of it because of how many people were getting the trial and then not actually watching the game. Or not actually sticking around, I should say. They are just showing Optus Stadium. It's a little bit of sun around, but the question is, was that just taken or was that from earlier on in the day? Because if it was earlier on, maybe the rain has had a little bit more of a rough patch for getting into it. But they are just showing Leicester Fire Nuku in the background and Nick White doing some commentary in this case. It got exploited, says Jake Tower. I thought it might. And so many people commenting here. Yeah, it's an insane amount of people already for this live stream. We are still sitting a little way away from the kickoff of this contest, but it is fast approaching for this match. Half price on my famous Pakistan rice. If Australia wins this, there you go. Half price rice, nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a slogan for some sort of rice company, other than the fact that they'd have to consistently give away half price rice, as you said. But looking through at this rugby championship, ladies and gents, in terms of what the Australians have been able to do so far, their first match up against South Africa, they were able to get themselves that big win, 38 points to 22. Now, I know that it's a painful one to keep on reminding people about, but they were down 22-0 in that contest, and it just shows how strong Australia can be in the later stages of a game. And that is what New Zealand need to be very cautious of for this game at Optus Stadium. They cannot afford to let the Aussies into the contest, because if they do, you know, you just get into that tricky predicament where we saw that late comeback up against the Argentines. And that was actually this game, 28 points to 24. They were just running rampage, or running rampant, as I've been told. I got told I'm not allowed to use rampage in that scenario by an English teacher. But 28 points to 26, the Pumas able to win that next game up against the Wallabies. And had Australia won that game too, this rugby championship table would sit very differently, and Australia in this game would also still have a chance of going on to win the whole rugby championship. Now, they did get themselves 2 bonus points from that game, and those could be absolutely crucial, of course, depending on what happens for this game at Optus Stadium. But pretty much this match between New Zealand and Australia, it's the winner stays on. Whoever wins this game has a chance, a thin one at that, to win the rugby championship. But the last week's game, 33 points to 24. I'll be honest, Australia needed a bonus point from that contest at Eden Park. They narrowly missed out, having that 9-point loss for New Zealand. The way that they sit at the moment in this rugby championship, they are sitting with 3 wins, 2 losses, and their points differential is -6. Their first 2 games up against Argentina were a bit eventful. The first match was one-sided, favour of the Kiwis. The second match, not so much. Argentina dominating a lot of the stats throughout that game and winning at 29 points to 23. Now, throughout those first 2 matches of the Rugby Championship, New Zealand gave away 5 yellow cards from those 2 games. These 3 afterwards, including the 2 up against South Africa, they have not given away a single card. So they have played 240 minutes of rugby at least, where they somehow have not been given a yellow. Now, if there's ever a stadium to end that streak, it would have to be Optus, because the last 2 times, that these sides have played at this location, New Zealand have been red carded in both, and it's been a certain family. First game, Scott. Second game, Geordie. You can probably guess the last name of those 2 men. New Zealand having the 1-1 series up against South Africa, but that game really did hurt the points differential for the Kiwis, taking them down -33. Had that not been the substantial score that it was, perhaps there would have still been a chance that this could go down to points differential, but at this point in time, it doesn't seem likely that that will be occurring. But New Zealand, they will be feeling a little bit of confidence after beating Australia last week, although there was still far from being a perfect performance there too. And we have there go, the All Blacks, says Douglas there. And also, so next year we tour South Africa, then have Bledisloe games, says Lumi there. Yeah, so it is going to be the South African tour, and then by the sounds of it, yep, they do have those matches up against the Aussies. It's a little bit of a makeshift year next season, and hopefully we do get to see Australia and Argentina also get a substantial amount of time in some sort of tour or something along those lines. What is your opinion? Do you think that at this stage, AB's coaching team just gambling with game plan strategy? at this point, says Martin. Although, looking through at this lineup, there isn't a huge amount that has been changed in this team outside of injury. With the exception, maybe you could say, of Billy Proctor and a bit to do with Peter Larkai. But the front row changes are injury forced. In the locking duo, it's actually injury forced as well now, with Fabian Holland coming in as the 5 rather than Tupavai, who is injured. Loose forward trio, you've got Peter Larkai as the 8, but they have pretty much said that is so that they have the impact of Satiti off of the bench. And I actually do think that is something that New Zealand will use throughout this year in November, is having Larkai as the impact off the bench in one game, and then Wallace Satiti, the guy who makes his way off the bench, in the other. McKenzie comes in as the 10. That is due to an injury. Lester's in because of the injury of Caleb Clark. And then Quintupai's in because of his form off the bench up against the Australians last week. So really there are, like, looking through at the team, it looks so different, but it's not really, if that makes sense. What time is kickoff? Says distracted. It is supposed to be 10:45, but as we know, when it is Australia, sometimes it is not quite the kickoff time. They haven't shown a countdown clock as of yet, but hopefully we will get one very soon. At latest, 54 minutes. At quickest, it will be 39. But we're still waiting to see that countdown clock. And next year we tour South Africa, then have Bledisloe games. Says alumni there, and he has actually used his channel member comment there to be able to put it up. And the Stormers aren't in Super Rugby, so that already makes URC much better, says Gareth. And we also got there an hour away, says Shredder. I think it's a little bit less than the hour. I think it is sitting either 54 minutes, like I said, or 39 minutes. But we are getting pretty close to the start of that contest. Bok deserve to win the Rugby Championship. They've been probably the most, I would say, consistent side out of everyone at this stage. Although you could argue that Australia, could you say they've been the most consistent? Just a little bit. I don't know. I feel like there's probably that debate, because you look through at their games and the most that they have lost by is 9 throughout this Rugby Championship. The most South Africa have lost by is 16, but then they've also had those massive wins of beating New Zealand by 33 points and then last week beating the Argentines by 37. So I feel like if you're looking at the roller coaster of form, South Africa definitely takes the cake there. But this is actually a pretty solid Rugby Championship for the Australians, with the fact that they have had all of their games separated within 10 that they have either lost or won, with the exception of that first game where they actually did have a bit of a runaway contest. So, they haven't been too bad, the Wallabies. And I feel like if they weren't able to walk away from this game at Optus Stadium with some sort of reward of either bonus points or, the big victory, I'd say they'd be pretty disappointed with the way that it's finished. I am Shai All says, Wild Lobster, welcome and hope you're doing extremely well. Good morning, rugby fans, says Jimbo there. And someone said that it is absolutely bucketing down in the Perth location. And we have got there when you can have a look, or when you can have a look at the Discord. I'll try and load it up, although we'll also try and reach out at the same time. We have got there Kiwi Rob, go the ABs, coming from South Africa, says Gerhard there. And how many cards tonight? Well, the thing is, New Zealand have not received any cards for their last 3 matches. And there's a picture of Georgia Miller I do see for Novmum there. Of course, the break, did she get breakout player? No, Braxton Sorensen McGee got it off her, didn't she? In the end, South Africa will be the champions again. Go the All Blacks, says Waves. And also we have got there, it's raining and wet in London, says Albert. Yeah, so I guess at least there's some consistency there in terms of both games are going to be affected by rain. And also we have got there 4 cards tonight, says Cobber. Are they all for New Zealand, or are you going a couple for Australia as well? In this case, so far the Australians, I believe they have received 2 yellow cards throughout this Rugby Championship. They've actually been the best side when it comes to the yellow card count compared to New Zealand, who still sit at the top of the bunch. They have got themselves the 5. And Geordie Barrett carved up in the URC, says Floyd Kingy. And also we have got there which players on both sides do you expect to have the game changers or to be the game changers? Well, I think that in terms of who needs to be a game changer, someone like a Damian McKenzie in that 10 jersey. You look at Cam Roigard and what he is able to do. And last week, the impact was evident. 2 tries for him from that number 9 jersey. But him and Damian McKenzie, it's a combination that we haven't seen a huge amount of at this point in time. But perhaps it is one that we could see actually be pretty effective in this matchup. For the Australians, the pressure is on their 9-10 as well. Gordon, as well as Tane Edme, because if they don't get it right early, that is where New Zealand will slowly start to really thrive in the early stages of the game. Will Jordan game changer, says Sakabula. His importance in this game can definitely not be understated as well. And Australia's team is much stronger than last week, says Albin. I think that just adding in Will Skelton makes a massive amount of difference. Although I will say that I feel like the 9 and 10 combination is weaker than last week. And that's pretty harsh. But then saying that, Gordon and Edmed, still a young international duo. You know, we've seen a few cats for Gordon along the way. But Edmed, in some pressure matches that we've seen him play before, he does slightly end up cracking under the pressure. And hopefully that's not going to be the case in this game. They also don't have Lukan Salakaialoro. Although if that is for Will Skelton, I feel like that's not too bad of a switch. In that regard, I'd like to see Australia return to their old selves. I miss the nail-biting competition and fierce rivalry of the past, says Vastaria. And I think the biggest problem that they've got, the Australians, is they've had a lot of close games with New Zealand as of late, but none of them they have been able to put the icing on the cake for. You know, they have lost, I believe, their last 10 games in a row up against the New Zealanders, okay? Hamish, Australia has a much stronger bench today. Says Albert there. And also, we're there, Hamish, what are your predictions for this match? So I did end up saying New Zealand by 15, which sounds pretty harsh when you say it like that. Definitely with the fact that this is at Optus Stadium, but I do think that 9-10 combination does leave a lot to be desired for the Wallabies. I hope that they both come out there and have absolutely awesome games and can make that big difference for their sides. So what time is kickoff actually? So by the sounds of it, it was originally supposed to be 10:45, but someone has been saying that it is as late as 11:10 in this matchup, which would be pretty brutal. And once again, a classic case of the Australians just lying about their kickoff times to try and get people in early. We have there, good morning all, says Mr. Fantastic AJ. Australia are building nicely. They've looked all right, and they have got themselves the November internationals just around the corner. Now, world rankings points are extremely crucial for this season, mainly because of the fact that the World Cup draw has taken place on December 3rd. But for the Aussies, they have got their game up against the Japanese. That is their first match of the November internationals. It is a warm-up game taking place in October. Then from there, they play England, they play Italy, Ireland, and France. Now, those two games, Ireland and France, with those two sides being at home, if Australia can win one of those, that may be enough to boost them up and leave them in that top 6 for the Rugby World Rankings draw, which would be taking place only about 15 days after that match. Against Les Bleus, at the moment for the Australians, if they were to win this game up against New Zealand, and if the Argentines were to lose to South Africa, that would actually put Australia inside of the top 6. Now, that is where you want to be at the end of this year. And, you know, they're running low on opportunities. Only 5 matches to be able to secure that spot. Argentina, they have got themselves 3 games in November. New Zealand, they have got 4 up against the Irish, the Scottish, the English, and the Welsh. So no match up against France and no match up against Italy for New Zealand. The France one's self-explanatory. They played them 3 times in the July internationals. They are just talking about the outs of this New Zealand side. And you look through at the list, and 5 of the 6 players are out due to injury. Unless, of course, Billy Proctor's got some sort of injury that hasn't been talked about. But I believe that is based off form and seeing Quintal Paia really thrive off the bench last week for the Kiwis. But it's a concerning sight at the moment, and depending on the extent of some of those injuries. The likes of De Groot, he should be back. Barrett's looking like he should be able to recover before November without too much trouble. Vai's a bit of a wait and see. He's actually gone back to New Zealand for some scans and whatnot. And we have got there, get some therapy. You sound crazy, lad. I don't know whether or not that's me or whether or not that's... Oh, no, that's to Kiwi Rob, who said world rankings points don't matter for Australia. No, they do. Because if Australia finish outside of the top 6, then they end up in a draw in that Rugby World Cup with another team inside of that top 6. And that's not what you want. Yes, you're still going to make it through, but ideally you want that favourable draw, and the sides who get inside of that top 6 will definitely get those draws. So, you know, you want to be top 6. At the end of the day, you can get yourself a nice draw and avoid everyone else inside of that top 6 for as long as physically possible. You call it a pretty good day at the office. Hello, Hamish says Demon the 11th. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. How's the weather for today's game? It's looking wet by the sounds of it. It was sunny earlier on at Optus Stadium when they did get the shots before of the ground, but it sounds drizzly, and hopefully it's going to get a little bit drier, but there's no guarantee there. It looks very overcast at the moment. Enjoy your commentary, Ernest from Cape Town. So thank you very much for being here. Of course, we are going to be covering that game between Argentina and South Africa a little bit later on tonight. To anyone who is new, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And we have got there also rankings matter for World Cup group placements. Other than that, it doesn't really mean anything, says Arno. And yeah, it is one of those ones that can forever change. And definitely throughout the November internationals, we will see sides going up and down all over the place. And who cares the best front row? is on show tonight regardless. All Blacks finally, says Michael. And yeah, the All Crusaders front row. In this case, Hamish, are there any tactical changes or innovations each team might employ today compared to their last encounters? I would say the benches are the intriguing part. They've got Rob Valentini making his way off the bench rather than in the starting side, and that is predominantly down to the way that Tom Hooper has been playing as of late. He's a very handy option on the blind side for the Australians. For New Zealand, I would say that Rico Ioane off the bench is one that had a few people scratching their heads. But at the same time, I don't actually mind that choice. You're going to do the league test matches. Nothing confirmed yet, mainly because I don't know when those ones are taking place in terms of, you know, the timings of them and whether or not there's any other international games that do overlap. We have got their morning all. I hope all had a coffee and kicking. And also we have got there, as long as New Zealand don't eat chicken and chips before the game, they should win this game. Says Fali Fatu, as it's a daytime or nighttime game. So it is scheduled to kick off at around 6 p.m. for Perth time. Now that will be a little bit later in Australia in general, such as, you know, someone like a Brisbane or anywhere like that. It will actually be a bit more of an evening game. And for us here in New Zealand, it is certainly going to be an evening game. We're still on schedule. Are we still on time? At the moment, I'm still waiting for them to put up a countdown clock, yet they haven't decided to do it, which always makes me think that the reason they aren't doing it is because of the fact that this game is kicking off a little bit late. We have got there, as long as South Africa, Susie or Sussy doesn't poison us, says Jake. And also, what do you think about Sasha's performance last week against Argentina? He was insane last week. And I've mentioned about it multiple times. The last thing that they want is to have what happened with him at the Stormers. Because, you know, he had that 10 out of 10 game and everyone hyped him up all throughout the week. And then he had a 3 out of 10. But I do think that since then he has grown as a player. He seems to have a little bit of experience about him and some sort of composure under pressure, which I do think will help massively. We have got there come on Optus Stadium. Start the game now, says Johnny Blaze. And there as well. Are you blind, Hamish, says Kiwi Rob? Well, if I'm reading that, then it's probably self-explanatory, isn't it, Kiwi Rob? Have you had 5 coffees or 5 monsters? You are here with the heat. I have had neither of the two. I had a drink of water for this live stream, so I don't know what's in that water, but it's done the job. We have got there, come on Optus Stadium, start the game now. And we have got there as well from Bishop. He has become the channel member. We have got there, hello everyone, how's it going? Says Sebastian there. And shows 48 minutes on Sky Sport. Am I live at the moment? Oh, no, there we go. Right, it has just kicked in. I was watching the pre-match breakdown show. So, yeah, 48 minutes till kickoff. What time does that make it? Does that mean they're doing a 10:05 kickoff for this match, I guess? Why do they tell people 10:45 if it's an 11:05 kickoff? We have got there, how's it, Hamish? How good has this tournament been, says Reno? It's been incredible. Like, the fact that the Rugby Championship is still up for grabs at this round, the fact that we've seen sides going 1-1 throughout these matches is just absolutely incredible. And all I'm saying is looking forward to South Africa versus New Zealand once again in the next Rugby World Cup finals. The only two teams who should be there. Says Gareth. I think Sasha can reach the heights of Beaver. Says Cobbo. I mean, Beaver, don't get me wrong, he was a great flyer, but I don't know whether or not there were, like, I feel like people are more so doing that comparison with Dan Carter and whether or not he can get towards that type of area. And to be fair, that's a pretty hard kind of set of boots to fill. One moment, ladies and gents, we'll just go like that. There we go. We'll just edit their site quickly and sort that all out. There we go. We'll change the time. And we have got there, they played us again. They did. Australia do it every single time. And I feel like there are a lot of Australians who now have trust issues with Stan Sport. The Beaver is a legend. Says Arno then, Hamish, can the Wallabies backline exploit any recent weaknesses shown by the All Blacks defence? I think they can. I think that Australia have shown throughout this Rugby Championship that they can exploit any side's defence. And all you got to do is look through at those totals. And the fact that they've got themselves 20 tries throughout this Rugby Championship. They are currently sitting second in the overall standings. We see New Zealand with 17, Argentina with 11, but top of the bunch, there it is South Africa. And we have got there, I hope Sasha is not a one-time wonder, says Johannes. And that's where the pressure of being a young player really does set in. You know, because I mentioned about it for the Stormers. He had his outstanding game where everyone said he was the top of the world. And then the next 3 games, he was consistently, sadly, terrible. And it ended up costing the Stormers the playoffs of the URC. So I hope that he can back it up with a big game here at Twickenham. I feel like since that last year, like I said, I feel like he's grown as a player and does look like he's really shown maturity. in that number 10 jersey. The fact that any time that his side were going down with a little bit of a problem last match and he just started firing up. What time is it for Ireland? Whatever the time is at the moment in Ireland, 45 minutes from now. How long till kickoff? 45 minutes, because Australia lied to everyone, and it's actually 20 minutes later than it was initially scheduled to be. We have there, that Sasha guy is really something. Says Katzenel, Ahoy H, says Juan there, welcome in, hope you're doing extremely well. If New Zealand win with a bonus point, South Africa need to also win with a bonus point, otherwise we end up being second. Incorrect. So if New Zealand win with a bonus point, theoretically, unless, and the thing is, there's the big unless New Zealand win this game up against Australia by, I would say they have to win by 65 points at least to get a better points differential than the South Africans, who would just need a victory. In that case, it's a little bit weird the way that it's sitting, and the weirdness is the fact that there's such a massive separation in the points differential department, but that is the way that it sits at the moment. South Africa, all they need up against the Argentines is a win, and they will win the Rugby Championship. Whether they win it by 1 or whether they win it by 50, both of them are on the cards for that game at Twickenham. But this is what we saw last week, New Zealand getting themselves the win up against the Australians, 33 points to 24. Alongside that, we also saw a great performance from the South Africans, 67 points to 30. It is the most points that we have seen throughout this Rugby Championship for a side. And, a 37-point win. They'll go into that next game with quite a bit of confidence. They haven't made a huge amount of changes across their lineup either. Mitch Marsh is the man, says David, so I assume the cricket's going well for the Aussies in that case. And also call it for a draw. How can the All Blacks win the Rugby Championship? So they need bonus point as well as a win? Not necessarily. New Zealand can still win this Rugby Championship if they were to just win this game and South Africa were to lose. It pretty much, it comes down to South Africa. If they can win their game, they've secured the Rugby Championship. But if they, Mackenzie shanked that one away to the left-hand side. That's not what he'll be hoping for after kicking tee today. But, yeah, if they just win, that's all they need. If they lose, then it opens up the door for actually New Zealand or Australia to win the Rugby Championship, depending on who wins this game and bonus points, etc. Australia's points differential is actually better than New Zealand's, so they could sit a little bit higher up on the standings. The upside is, by the time the game ends, the next game is basically going to be starting already. Says Gareth, yeah, they've given just no break in between the matches, which I guess is a good thing overall. And we have got there, what do you think? Who do you think is winning this Rugby Championship? I did choose South Africa from the get-go, and I know that wasn't a popular opinion, but I just felt like if they could win one of those two games up against New Zealand in New Zealand, then they would probably take it out. And that was down to either thinking New Zealand would go 1-1 up against Australia or the Argentines. Do you think Roygaard is going to have a better game than last week? If he has a better game than last week, then that would be incredibly impressive, because that man did a lot of things right in the last match up against the Australians at Eden Park. He didn't look out of place at all, even though he had been away for so long from that All Blacks kit, and he's had his fair share of injuries, and they've been unfortunate timings, a majority of them, and draw will be the biggest, says one Pierre Bosch. And also, what is the time? Says Fortnite at the moment is 10:23, but the time that this game is kicking off is 11:05, so they did delay it by 20 minutes, or unless they didn't actually delay it, they just decided, we'll just take the piss and we'll go a little bit later instead. Let's talk about that match day 23. Says Reno there. We will be going into it in a very short moment. We have got, remember me, says Wade, I do Boyson, I believe so, with a last name like that, hard to forget. We have got there also hello from Kuala Lumpur, and New Zealand supporter. Says Alian, it is greatly appreciated you being here for this match. Caleb Tungitel playing NPC, or is he injured? He is playing in the NPC for Auckland, who have been struggling throughout this throughout this NPC competition. And we have got there as well. This could go either way on present forms. I think the All Blacks will win, though, from England, says Neil. And also Bok to win the Championship Cup without a doubt. And also, where's everyone watching the game? Says, yeah, we've got a lot of countries covered already throughout the early stages. Now, the good news is Jeff Wilson and Justin Marshall, they're having a chat on the sideline. And at this point in time, they have not got umbrellas. So that could bode well for us heading into this match. But we will look through at the starting sides again. First of all, the Australians, they have made a few changes across their 23-man side for this contest. James Slipper starting in the number 1 jersey with Billy Pollard at 2 and Alan Atoa starting in at 3. So James Slipper, he is up to 151 caps. Billy Pollard, he is going to be there as the 2. He managed to score himself a try last week up against New Zealand. And then Alan Atoa, he comes into the starting lineup, and that is to replace Taniela Tupou, who will make his way off the bench. rather than starting. In this game, Nick Frosty's been consistent in that number 4 jersey for the Australians, with Will Skelton, the big man, returning as the number 5. He's got huge physicality, he's got a huge frame, and he's going to be causing all sorts of trouble for New Zealand. And at this contest, Tom Hooper slots in as the number 6 with Fraser McWright at 7, and the captain, Harry Wilson, adds the 8. Fraser McWright currently sitting second in the tackles made throughout this Rugby Championship, just behind Marcos Kremer, will be playing later on at Twickenham in the match up against the Box. But Tom Hooper, I still will keep on saying it, if there weren't so many great sixes in the competition, and even with the great sixes in the comp, you'd probably almost have to consider him at least in the running for the team of the tournament. The way that he has played from 6 has been thoroughly impressive. The work that he's done that goes unnoticed, he's always working around the breakdown, and he's a very good option for the Aussies. In this match, Jake Gordon and Tane Edme, 2 changes in the 9-10 combination here for the Australians. No Tate McDermott for this game due to injury. James O'Connor, he is still there, but he will be making his way off the bench rather than starting for this match. Lena Cattell and Joseph Suali'i will still make up the midfield. Suali'i leading the charge for tries scored throughout this competition. He has got himself the 4. Filippo Dangunu out on the left wing, replacing Corey Toole. Harry Potter out on the right wing, keeping his spot. He did score in the game last week. And then Max Jorgensen, young, talented prospect for the Australian side. He slots in at fullback. And I actually learnt the other day, which I had forgotten at the time, but Jorgensen was actually playing in that 2023 Rugby World Cup for the Australians. I honestly forgot he was in the squad. But then I guess when you think about the experienced players that they decided not to take for that World Cup, maybe there was, of course, going to be space for those younger players. Looking through at New Zealand starting lineup, it is Tamaiti Williams, Cody Taylor and Fletcher Null as the front row. Tamaiti Williams coming in for the injury of Ethan Agru. He did get a head knock in that last game, so did not travel to Perth for this matchup. Cody Taylor, he resumes his role as that number 2. He has been a standout, but Samisoni Taukiaho also been doing a lot off the bench for the Kiwis. He sits as one of those guys chasing Suali'i for the try scored. Throughout the comp, Fletcher Null, he is starting as 3. That is due to the Tyrell Lomax broken thumb. That could potentially leave him out for multiple weeks on end now and puts him in doubt for the start of the November International. Scott Barrett and Fabian Holland as the locking duo. We do see Barrett returning from his shoulder injury. He did not play in the last match up against the Australians. Fabian Holland, he was not on the starting side, but due to the injury of Tupavai, that was based off knee injury, he comes in as the starting 5, and he is also a very handy player, not exactly a bad replacement. He's won the most lineouts out of anyone in this Rugby Championship competition, including 14-1 last week up against the Australians, so he offers a lot when it comes to that line-out part of the game for New Zealand. It's somewhere that they've actually been pretty consistent with throughout this Rugby Championship, and I do think a lot of credit goes to Cody Taylor for that, as well as for Fabian Holland in that number 5 jersey. Simon Parker starts as the 6 with Artie Savia at 7, and Peter Larkai will slot in at 8 for his first international start for the All Blacks here. Cam Roigard and Damien McKenzie as their 9-10 combo. That is due to the injury of Bone and Barrett. Tell you what, that's the word of the day at the moment for the Kiwis. I think I've said that about 6 times, and we're only up to the number 10 in that regard. Number 11, Lester Whaiananuku. Guess why he's on the side? Injury of Caleb Clark. In the midfield, Geordie Barrett and Quintal Pyer gets his first start at number 13 since about 2023, I believe, was the last time Pyer did get the chance there. Leroy Carter out on the right wing, and Will Jordan for his 50th cap, he slots in as the number 15. I see that during that time of doing the lineups, I have missed 46 comments. So we might have to skip a little bit, but of course I will go back and read them afterwards as well. We have got the Box will hit him, or hit them, says Dirk, and also go the All Blacks and go the Box, says Memento there. The All Blacks own Twickenham just like Ellis Park. Although the last time New Zealand played at Twickenham, I think they lost by a record margin up against South Africa, didn't they? Or at least that was up against a side outside of the English. JOC was terrible last week. He did have a bit of a rough game, and it is an intriguing one though, because Tane Edme under pressure sometimes does fall into that same department. Now, I will say that James O'Connor, the thing that he did the worst last week was missing touch twice. Those two, if he had been able to score them, or at least get them into touch, and then Australia had scored points from them, could have been absolutely massive for the Aussies. There we have got there, I found this, there's no mum with the 8-month membership there. Box to win by 55 points, Australia to win by 8 points, as Johannes' prediction. And there as well, got a feeling that the Wallabies are going to pile on some serious points The question is, are you feeling it for the first half or the second half? How long until the kickoff? At the moment, we have still got another 35 minutes till the start of this game. Initially, this game was scheduled to start in only 15 minutes' time. So by the time kickoff hits, we would have been going for about an hour and 20 minutes, which is one of the longer build-ups we have had on the channel in quite some time. We have got their boring scrums, says Thikoloshe, and also Patrick Tuipulotu should be number 4, Scott Barrett benched, says Zion. Although, the thing I'll say to that is I actually really do like Patrick Tuipulotu off of the bench, and I do think that he would have more of an impact off the bench than Scott Barrett, which is why I believe they have done it. And I think that it works relatively well. You know, Scott Barrett, as much stick as he gets, he's actually had a busy rugby championship. I believe he's sitting about 6th in the overall tackles made throughout the comp, or at least he was up until that week when he was injured. I think he may have dropped a little bit more than that now. But Tuipulotu, he can really bring an impact. And if Barrett had been out, I do think that they would have been fine with Tuipulotu and Holland as that starting duo. And London is a home for South Africa, says Johannes. And if Australia win this, Hamish, what's the fallout? As in, like, the fallout of the world rankings points or the rugby championship. At the moment, Australia, if they were to win this game, they would move themselves into second place. If they were to win it comfortably with a bonus point, they would move into first, with that last game taking place between South Africa and Argentina still to happen. Now, all the South Africans in that case would need is to get a losing bonus point from that game, and they would still win the rugby championship. Whereas if New Zealand were to win this game, South Africa would need a little bit more than the losing bonus points. They would need to get themselves the victory in that game up against the Argentines. They are just showing there, Leroy Carter, 148 metres carried for that man at the start of his All Blacks career. He's had 2 test matches. He has scored twice in both of them, or scored twice, one in both of them, I should say. And then also had 11 defenders beaten. But in the world rankings, New Zealand, if they win this game, they go up to number 2 in the overall standings. And in terms of what can happen for the Australians, they can jump up to number 6 if they manage to get themselves the win for this game. Scott Barrett is underrated. Anyone blaming our failures on him has zero rugby knowledge, says Cronies. And the thing is, I feel like there's a difference between blaming Scott Barrett for the way that he's playing and blaming Scott Barrett for his captaincy. And I do think at times some people don't separate the two. Some people just blame Scott Barrett because he's captain rather than Ardie Savia. And whether you feel he is the captain or not, I do actually think based off what he's been able to do this rugby championship, you'd probably still take him in the starting lineup. When will they play? Says Vitilai. So at the moment, we are sitting just the 33 minutes away from the kickoff. Like I mentioned, it was delayed by 20 minutes. Colby was sad because of the kick. He may have been sad, but he had a weird way of showing it, because then he went out and had about a 9 out of 10 and managed to really just pile on the pressure for the South Africans. And I mentioned about it, not many players can make an error like that and still have a phenomenal game afterwards. Normally that would break you mentally. Cheslin Colby, he just went, okay, it's happened, it's out of the way, now let's beat Argentina by 37 points. And look at the crowd footage in games between England and South Africa and Twickenham, and a lot of the times there are more green jerseys, the crowd than white ones, says Arno. And Colby has a lot of credit in the bank. Remember the charge down of that Ramos conversion in the game versus France in the Rugby World Cup, says Alan King there. And bonus point win for the Box, says Marion there. And also Scott Barrett is a good player, poor captain, says X. Scott Barrett is good, but he brain fades under pressure. And the thing is, there is going to be a bit of pressure on him here, because he has had a red card at Optus Stadium before, and also he's returning into an All Black side that, you know, overall they weren't terrible last week up against Australia. They made a fair few mistakes in that matchup, but I still think that they are in the scenario where, you know, if they expand upon what they did last week, they should be all right here. But then at the same time, the Wallabies are the type of side that will definitely take it to them throughout that second half. The stadium is still empty, says Lyle. Well, it is currently bucketing down with rain, I think, or at least it was earlier on, so maybe people just leave it a little bit later. But at the same time, maybe the Australians just know it's going to be a late kickoff for this one. Amy's in for an ass kicking, says DG. And also for the Scarlets, there's been a few games delayed. We actually saw Scarlets and Connacht, as well as, I think it was the Ulster-Edinburgh game, has also been delayed. We have their box by 15, says Albert. And also New Zealand will be back in form, no doubt. And there as well. But what we are going to do, ladies and gents, with just the 30 minutes remaining before the start of this matchup, we will go like this and like that. There we go. So looking through at some of the stats from this rugby championship. Now, one thing I will mention is stats can be very deceiving, and I feel like this year's probably shown that more than any other But at the moment, New Zealand and the Australians, they sit pretty even when it comes to tries scored. Australia actually have 20 up to this stage of the competition, whereas New Zealand just have the 17. Argentina sitting the lowest of any side with 11. And then South Africa, they have got 23 after getting themselves 9 tries last week up against the South Africans. Clean breaks, Australia sits second in the overall standings in that department. They have got 34, whereas for New Zealand, they have had the 20. So actually having 14 less than Australia, but Australia only having the 2 last week up against New Zealand, whereas New Zealand did have the 5. So in terms of the head-to-head, New Zealand actually do have that advantage at the moment in terms of the clean breaks that the two sides have had. Carries, Australia have had the most out of anyone in the competition with 607. New Zealand having the least with 534. That is why some fans have been so frustrated with the tactics of New Zealand, the fact that they have kicked that ball away. They've also gained the least amount of metres out of any side, New Zealand, with 1,518. Australia, surprisingly, have beaten the least amount of defenders with 123, but they sit with the highest tackle percentage out of any side in this rugby championship with 86.6. The lineouts of these two sides extremely even, around 86% for both teams, the two best in the competition. And Australia's scrum, believe it or not, it still sits 100% in this rugby championship. They have not lost a single scrum against their own feed. So that is pretty massive. Who will watch the rugby of South Africa versus Argentina? We are going to be covering it on the channel with a nice big build-up for that matchup as well. They are just talking to Scott Robertson at the moment. It doesn't seem like the rain's going to play too much of a factor just for now, and hopefully that is the way that it stays as we get closer to the kickoff of this contest. Aussie will win today. Says Andre there. Why late start? What's the excuse? Are they playing tricks again with the cricket ball? Says Memento. I actually don't know the reasoning behind the late kickoff every time when an Australian game has taken place. It's the same with the British and Irish Lions tour. They started off with the kickoff being 1:45. And then by the last games, they just accepted the fact it was going to be 15 minutes later. Their games up against Argentina, that first match, actually got delayed that badly that it almost overlapped with South Africa versus New Zealand. So I think it's just a case of trying to get people early, watching. But a lot of people, I've mentioned about it, it actually kind of hurts them because some people may look at it ready for the kickoff, the likes of 8 minutes time. Some people will be coming in expecting to see the game start, but the game wouldn't have started, and it won't be starting for another about 20 minutes after that. Blame Sky Sports, says Jimbo. I don't think it's Sky, though. I think that Sky are definitely doing the coverage for this one here in New Zealand, but it's something to do with Stan and the amount of build-up that they want to have in terms of, I guess, just filling up the minutes before the game. It's good for advertisers, I guess, to get more sponsors and whatnot. What's the betting odds, by the way? New Zealand must be favourites. They are favourites, but not by a massive margin. At the moment, the way that the betting odds sits, it is $2.50 underdogs for Australia, and then $1.50, I should say, for New Zealand. You think the Wallabies have a really good chance to win this one? I think that they've got as good of a chance as any game up against New Zealand. At the moment, 50% in regards of the winning record at Optus Stadium. New Zealand, in both of their games at Optus, have had a red card, one for Scott, one for Geordie. And we have got there some rugby fans live in the past and want to sub Sasha off after 15 minutes into the game. They bet ABs. Now they love him. Says Dalmain. Yeah, and we got to see it live at the time of the ones who, as soon as Sasha missed a kick, they said, take him off. We want Lebok, which was a bit of a surprising statement. Oh, they're showing Aaron Smith with his man bun stage. It's been a little while since we've seen Mackenzie as that 10. Only All Black to play in all 22 tests that Scott Robertson has coached. Well, there you go. That is a statistic and a half. So Mackenzie has never been taken out of this All Black side, always off of the bench or in the starting side. Who's the referee this evening? That's a good question. I've actually forgotten. I know that it is Piari who is in charge of the South Africa versus Argentina game. And 26 minutes till kickoff, says Jules. And as well, coverage on Sky Sports at 10:50, which is 5 minutes after they advertised kickoff, so Sky knew, says Jimbo there. And what time does it start New Zealand time? Starting at 11:05 p.m. New Zealand time. So they have got that 20 minutes later than it was initially going to be starting. Someone in New Zealand said Hamish a box scarf or beanie, says Hillary. And also we have got there, Hamish, any live view of the build-up, says Reno, as in like for me showing it. Alt referee there, Matthew Carley, I think is in charge of this one they've just shown. Maybe, or was he an assistant referee? Hang on. Matthew Carley in charge. Assistants are Carl Dixon and Mone Ferreira. So that was actually good timing. And there, Sky Sports saying 11:05 p.m. kickoff, and you're watching the fights tomorrow. I didn't even know there were fights on, to be honest. We've been all over the place in terms of the schedule throughout this week. Of course, the last big weekend of international rugby before we get into November. Hey, Hamish says, Delane, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. They are just interviewing Joe Schmidt. He will be enjoying the challenge of this contest at Optus Stadium. Okay, he's just said there that they'd like to start better. They have been susceptible to a bit of a rough start, the Aussies. We saw that in their first game up against South Africa, also up against New Zealand in that last match at Eden Park. But from there, they are normally able to find their way back into a contest with quite a bit of effectiveness. And, you know, I would not be one bit surprised if they can do it again for this matchup as well. But with that four-pack, the changes, I feel like Australia have made some good decisions. Alan Alatoa into the starting lineup. Perhaps that is down to the penalty count that we've seen from Taniela Tupou as well. He's been a little bit susceptible to giving away penalties as of late. No hate, just feel Aussie has this one. Best of luck to both teams, says George. There's no hate involved whatsoever in that prediction. I think that, honestly, a lot of people, based off what we've seen in this Rugby Championship as well, it's very hard to say that a side is going to get 2 wins over their opposition just because it's been such a seesaw. You know, it could easily go either way for this matchup. I think that Australia, looking through at their side, they've got more than enough capabilities, and some of those stats throughout this build-up, like they prove that Australia will be in this game. And New Zealand's discipline. Everyone thinks that it's a pressure cooker at the moment, and they're waiting for it to break. Because, you know, 5 yellow cards. I can't stop saying it. 5 yellows in their first 2 games. Then from there to go to only getting the 2 yellow, getting the 0 yellow cards in the last 3 matches. It almost feels un-All Black-like based on what we've seen throughout their recent times. I believe there was a time where New Zealand averaged 1 yellow card per game across about 15 matches. And in this case now, 0 from 3. And Hamish says, hey, no, welcome in. The time is always 11:45 South African time, says Johannes. So yeah, now it is actually 12:05 South African time that the kickoff will be taking place. Still another 24 minutes until this one has taken place. We're on track for 2027. The All Blacks, says Michael. And Box have found their mojo. They will do Argentina again today. Says Jimbo there. And can the All Blacks deal with Rob Valentini? Well, he's going to be making his way off of the bench. Calf injury. It's what took Rob Valentini out of the equation in that first match up against New Zealand. He could have really been handy for that physicality. But it isn't just Rob Valentini. In terms of the reinforcements we're seeing for Australia in this game, it's also Will Skelton. You know, that man, as much as some people dislike Will Skelton for his antics, I guess you could say, like, there's no denying the bloke is a big individual. And you're going to see him out there on the field, mainly because he's much taller than everyone else, so he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Butch James said he thinks Suaalii is best 13 in the world right now. Says, hey, no, I think it's very early on, but Suaalii's certainly shown his strength throughout this Rugby Championship. I also do think that Len Ikitau's been pretty handy overall in terms of feeding the ball to Joseph Suaalii. When you look at some of what Suaalii has done, of course, there is individual brilliance there, but it's also down to how that Australia backline has been able to get that ball into his hands too. Why is the match delayed by an extra 20 minutes? The set kickoff is 11:45 a.m. South African time. They just love doing it in Australia. They love delaying a game. I assume it's so that they can do the welcome to country as well as the national anthems, but they normally could do that if they just started a little bit earlier. But it's just to get all the people watching right at the time of kickoff, I guess. But it doesn't really work, I don't think. It actually hurts them a bit more. Welcome to Monkey. I love the ABs. Says George there, and who is the ref? It is Matthew Carley of England in charge of this one. And the time now is 11:43 here, and it said kickoff would be 11:45. Why delayed? No reason other than it's in Australia. And they love to delay a kickoff by 15 to 20 minutes pretty much every single time. Fatigue is going to play its part on the Aussie side. ABs will take it convincingly in the second half, although Australia's second half is actually where they've been their most dangerous throughout this Rugby Championship. You know, you look at their game up against the Argentines, where they were able to fight back and somehow get the victory. Australia, up until South Africa, went absolutely crazy in their last 2 games of scoring a whole heap of tries. Australia, after 4 rounds, actually had the most points scored in the last quarter of a game, with 57 from their first 4 games. We broke Rugby Australia. We need the ads, says Xavier Brownlee there. And also, we've got there, Hamish, is that shoot and tie attire you're styling, or did you buy it as a suit? Where's the jacket, says the bro. So the initial shirt and tie that came with the jacket is different to this one. This one was just more so it's something a little bit different, just because I was always wearing the white shirt and people were giving me stick for it. Marks is not playing again, is it true? Not that I know of. I haven't heard about the late injury if he is out for that game, but that is certainly a big hit for the Box if that is the case. And we have I love welcome to country, makes the hair on my neck stand up, says Kawai. Is Nick White playing? Let us know. Says Jackson, he is not playing. He's actually in the commentary box. He was alongside Jeff Wilson for a little bit of build-up earlier on in the game. So it looks like he has moved on and has actually retired for this Australian side now. Bring on the Kiwiaka, says Graham. And also, who do you think will win the World Cup? If it was to start tomorrow, I would go France, says Nathan. If it was starting tomorrow, I would, it's pretty hard not to say South Africa, just because of what they've done. Look at their last two games. 110 points they have scored up against New Zealand and Argentina. And with the fact that France haven't played any rugby since July, you'd have to say it would take them a couple games to get going. So perhaps by the time we get to the knockout stages, they would be in a good position. But I think if it was to start tomorrow, the Box would be in a very good spot for that Rugby World Cup. Gifted one membership there from Inferno. Thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. Best performance by a 9 so far, Hamish, says Jimbo. I would say that Roygaard last week up against Australia has to be right up there, just because of what he was able to do throughout that 80 minutes. I'd say that McDermott off the bench is a tricky one. It's a bit of a shame because of the fact that it just seems to be that he doesn't get a lot of game time. And then when he finally got the start, he ended up with the injury. But also Gonzalo Garcia, I think, has been pretty solid. Cobus Reinach's had a couple decent games. We have got a new channel member as well. And Reno, thank you very much. But in that membership button, why is Mapimpi not playing again? It's a great question. Oh, we got another gifted membership. At the moment, it's an auction of sorts. A battle between who gets their name on the screen. When will you start sipping on the casual monster during the game? Says Charles de Kock. I don't think we'll end up having a monster. Mainly because I haven't actually had one in my lifetime. But we will be having some water throughout this live stream. In fact, I haven't even had any for the first hour of this matchup. Or this build-up, I should say. We aren't actually at the match as of yet due to the delayed kickoff. Hamish, we need a Rasi emoji, says Reno. Do you think England will be competitive for the 2027 Rugby Championship? I think they'll go all right. England are a good side. And the thing is, even just saying that sentence, I know a couple people probably went and tried to have a bit of a laugh about it, but they're a solid enough team that, give them a good day, and they'll probably beat most teams. Why is it delayed? Just Australia. Unfortunately, they always seem to like to add that little bit more of a delay to their games of 15 to 20 minutes. But it's getting very close to the start of this match now. We are under the 20 minutes. Why is Oxton Sher not playing? Is he not playing either? Have they changed their whole front row here, South Africa, for that match up against the Argentines? How's it, Hamish? Craig from St. Francis Bay. Eastern Cape, South Africa is back. See, it's Craig there. And thanks to Tony Ball Rugby, says Brett there. And also here, Just Australia, says HDB. Do you also watch Rugby League? I've been watching a little bit of the NRL playoffs. It has been requested that we do the game taking place tomorrow, the final. And we have got there, Blaze, you on drugs. And also AB's fans, or AB's fan, but unsure about this experimental side. I think Australia could easily take the win. Oh, see, that's the thing. What about the side would you say is experimental? Because about 5 or so of the changes are actually due to injury. So it makes it pretty tricky for New Zealand. Those 2 front row changes, both based off injury. Holland coming in as the lock is from the injury of Tupolvai. Peter Larkai, that is, I guess, the one big experimentational side of this AB's team, as well as Quintupai as that number 13. But Whainā Nuku, he's in due to the injury of Clark. Mackenzie's in due to the injury of Bowden Barrett. So I don't know whether or not they have much of a choice in a lot of these selections in terms of what they were going to go with. Otherwise, Pollard not playing. They are back in Sasha and Lebok at the moment. Those two have been going relatively well for the South Africans. Let's go straight here. Harry Potter to score. Says Yako there. Do you watch any other sports? I do watch the occasional game of cricket or a bit of rugby league as well when I do get the chance. But, yeah. I'd like to watch more in this little bit of a break. The thing is, it's not really a break, though, because we'll still have the URC taking place on the channel. But the international rugby break, that's where we will get a little bit more time to be able to enjoy a few other sports. But it was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. It was supposed to start 10 minutes ago, but Australia like to kind of change their times of kickoff. Damien deserves to start, and they did show an interesting stat there about how Damien McKenzie under Scott Robertson has been a part of every single lineup, whether that is off the bench or in the starting lineup. Bloody Aussies to be disqualified for using wizardry, says Jackson there. Now we have got there, Shearis does not like the All Blacks. He said pretty much in the nicest way possible, you're bad, All Blacks. from Cheris there. What time it starts, says Adash. It is starting in 15 minutes' time. It is slightly a delayed start. Well, then the thing is, it may not actually be counted as a delayed start. It's just more of the case if they got their timings wrong. The delay is actually great. Leads right into the South Africa Pumas game, says Roger there. And also we have got there, what time did Lebok, or what position did Lebok play last week? Sasha Feinberg played number 10 the whole game, says Xander. I think they ended up making a little bit of a switch due to the Valimza slight injury that he had. Did Lebok go into a little bit of that first five every once in a while and Sasha dropped out a little bit? Or the thing is, I don't think they really had positions near the end of that game. They just kept running it and kept scoring. As Cheris is still in a bad mood, it would seem. I wonder who pissed in their fish and chips. We have got their when does it start, says Silent. At the moment, we are sitting 15 minutes away from the start of this game. The high H, the Ox is playing, says Jan. So is Malcolm Marks out, though, for that matchup? And when did you say, or what did you say about the changes to the front row for the Springboks? I don't see anything. I think it's still Ox, Marks, and Detroit. It was what some people were saying before that. Malcolm Marks is missing from that game. I hope it's not the case, as he is going to be a very handy player. Keep an eye out for. However, there, how's the Waimeti Scarecrow hunt? I didn't even know there was a thing. Sasha is also a good 12, says Arno. And there as well. And the HKB lad says Silent Wolfie. And there too. As Pollard going to kick, he is not going to be playing. So unless you're talking about Billy Pollard in this game, I would like to think that we won't see too many kicks coming from the hooker in this contest. But what is to come for these two sides as we get closer to the kickoff? Of course, Australia versus Japan. That has taken place in only 19. In fact, no, that's not maths. It's in 21 days' time that match has taken place between the Japanese and the Wallabies. Eddie Jones going head-to-head with his old team. England versus Australia. That is the first of the November internationals for the Wallabies. And then they have Italy, Ireland, as well as France. So some very entertaining games just around the corner from taking place. It looks like there are a few specks of rain on the camera here at Optus Stadium. So perhaps there will be a bit of wetness underfoot for this matchup here. 50% win rate for these two sides. And a lot of Wallabies bucket hats in the stands by the looks of it. That's actually quite cool. In fact, I don't see... In some regards, the only one who doesn't have a bucket hat on there is the one who's worried about messing up his hair. Everyone else got the Wallabies bucket hat on in the stands. They surely were giving them out at the gate, because there is a huge amount of them in the stand for this game. But looking through at this New Zealand schedule that is to come, they have got the 4 matches left of 2025 up against the Irish, up against Scotland, England, and also Wales. But 16 degrees Celsius at Optus Stadium. Game sitting 13 minutes away from the kickoff here. We are getting very close to the start. Razor out if he loses tonight. Probably not, because New Zealand Rugby don't have enough money. We have got there 9 Williams. There's Justin there. And on the welcome to country here for the Australians. Now All Blacks win by 15 plus, says Graham. Anna there as well. And also we have got there, please block Cherish. She has just got herself a timeout for being an annoyance. We have got there, I think Australia could surprise ABs today, says Patrick. And also we have got there, will be a great game. But New Zealand will thump Aussies. And there as well. Right, the welcome to country taking place. Then the national anthem just around the corner too. Morning Birdie, says Jimbo. Can you do the haka stand up and show me? No. We'll leave that to the All Blacks when they make their way onto the field. Good day to you, says Silent. And also Malcolm Marks still in the pub, having his last beer, relaxing before fresh in the Archie, says Paul. Looking from Fiji, ABs will win this convincingly, says YouTube user. We have to wait and see. But looking through at the starting lineups once again for these two sides. For the Wallabies, they have got James Slipper, the experienced veteran, as that number 1. Billy Pollard slots in at 2. He managed to score himself a try last week and has been a very handy part of this Australian side. Alan Alatoa slots in as the number 3. And that is to replace Taniela Tupou, who instead will be making his way off the bench for this contest. Nick Frost at 4 with Will Skelton slotting in at number 5. So those two will be able to bring a lot to this Wallabies 4. Back their line-out has been strong. Will Skelton, that physicality in the breakdown to just take it to that next level. Tom Hooper, he is starting as the number 6 with Fraser McWright at 7 and Harry Wilson as the number 8. McWright at the moment, he sits with a very impressive tackling percentage throughout this rugby championship, as well as sitting second in the overall tackles made throughout the comp. Harry Wilson leading from the front as the captain for this game. He will be looking forward to the challenge at the Optus Stadium. Jake Gordon and Tane Emmer, 2 changes there and a challenge for this Australian backline to see whether or not these two youngsters can gel, or Jake Gordon a little bit older, of course, but no Tate McDermott off the bench. We are going to get to see James O'Connor, so he will want to have a much better performance than he did have last week, where he was a little bit shaky as a whole. Then in the midfield, it is Len Ikitau alongside Joseph Suali'i. He has scored himself 4 tries throughout this Rugby Championship. I think that they've put Leicester Whainānuku. They've just shown the lineups. I think they've just taken Whainānuku's face and put his head on Caleb Clark's body. So obviously they weren't prepared to have Whainānuku as a pitcher. But yeah, it almost looks like his head's not actually attached to the body that they put him on. Filipo Dangunu, he'll be slotting in as the left winger in this contest. Harry Potter as the number 14. And then Max Jorgensen slots in to close out and the back line for the Australians as well. Looking through at this New Zealand side, changes in the front row due to injury. No Ethan de Groot, no Tyrell Lomax, but instead in this contest it will be Tamaiti Williams as the 1, with Cody Taylor slotting in as the 2 and Null as their number 3. Scott Barrett back into the All Blacks side after his shoulder injury, with Fabian Holland coming in as a late inclusion due to the injury of Tupou Vai. It was actually a knee injury that he was dealing with, so a bit of a concern there. But for the New Zealanders, they still have a very handy player in Holland who has won 31 lineouts throughout this year's Rugby Championship. Simon Parker sitting at 6 with Ardie Savia as the 7, back to co-captaincy for that man, and Peter Larkai gets his first international start as a number 8. For New Zealand, Cam Roigard and Damian McKenzie as that 9 and 10 combination due to the injury of Beauden Barrett and his shoulder. Geordie Barrett, he keeps his spot at 12 to remain as the second Barrett in the side, with Quinn Tupaia getting his first start in a very long time as a number 13. Whainānuku out on the left wing. Leroy Carter out on the right at the moment. That man sits with 100% when it comes to game played, international level-wise, and tries scored in those games. And Will Jordan, he is bringing up the milestone in this matchup, his 50th match for the All Blacks. He'll be more than up for the challenge in this matchup. Are we there yet? We are almost there. They are 8 minutes away from the kickoff of this match. Anyone who is new to the channel, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 75,000 on the channel. We are going to be covering all the matches in November that we physically can. We've got the URC still to come, some NPC hopefully next week on the channel too. So anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. The 7th Circuit also going to be covered on the channel too. Leicester Whainānuku was nothing special in the World Cup and dropped the final. Not sure he is ready. Well, he has to be, because at the end of the day, the other option they've got at the moment is Rieko Ioane, who hasn't quite found his feet out on that left wing side. What I thought they may have done was move Leroy Carter back to the left wing, but obviously they like him on the right at the moment. Severi, some people thought maybe he was going to make his way into the side too, but he missed out on selection. Razor seemed to struggle to get his combos right. Well, in this case, he didn't have many choices in terms of those combos, because 5 of the players who were taken out of that starting lineup were due to injury. There was no Ethan de Groot, no Tyrell Lomax, no Tupou Vai, no Beauden Barrett, and no Caleb Clark. So straight away, when you lose 5 players from your starting lineup, you're probably going to struggle to find that chemistry right from the get-go. Although New Zealand have been starting matches better than they've been finishing them. Australia, they have been extremely dangerous in the last 20 minutes of a game, and that is exactly what they'll try to do here at Optus Stadium. Subscribe, thanks for the commentary, says Clayton, very greatly appreciated. And also we have there, 5 o'clock, says Andreas. And there, but they are going to have the national anthems now for these two sides. And we have got the, it's all good, I've seen the words before I knew, or the kind I knew, naughty but not entirely sure, says, I assume that is to do with the Afrikaans swearer, as we shall call her. But now, national anthem just about to take place. What we will do is also look through at the benches while we are at it for Australia. They have got some pretty handy options to make their way off the bench in this game. Josh Nassar, Tom Robertson, and Taniela Tupou. They are going to be the front rowers. Jeremy Williams and Rob Valentini. Valentini being back is a massive bonus here for the Australians. They have got Ryan Lonergan. Some thought maybe he was going to be starting in this game after the way that he was able to play off the bench in last week's fixture. Also alongside that, they have got the experience of James O'Connor as the number 22, and Josh Fluke slots in as the 23 for New Zealand. Tolkiaho, he has been an impact player off the bench for the Kiwis, managing to get himself 3 tries so far throughout this Rugby Championship. George Bauer comes back into the side. That is due to all the injuries at loose head, including de Groot's concussion, and Ollie Norris having that back injury as well. Patrick Tuipulotu to add that experience off of the bench for the Kiwis, and Wallace Atiti, that versatility of being able to play 6, 7 and number 8. Ratama, Ioane and Ruben Love, they will be the back replacements. I should also say, of course, Basilio Tossi. I think he was the only man who I didn't read out in there, but the Hurricanes prop looking to add some sort of late impact. Cam Roigard, at the moment, he's got a black eye. I'm not too sure who got a shot into him, but it does look a little bit old, so maybe it was last week's battle wound from that double try scored that he got up against the Australians. We have got there. Good afternoon to Hamish. How are you doing today? I'm back and I love your coverage of the game. I'm always here. Regards, Sean. Says, it was Sean there, and yeah, greatly appreciate you being here for this match. There's a little bit of drizzliness around at the moment, so it does look like maybe a slippery ball situation could be on the cards for these two sides. But the New Zealand national anthem has now just been sung. This guy talks too much rubbish. Go the Aussies, says XL in there as well. Well, we have talked rubbish for the last hour and 15 minutes, so I think a lot of people would agree with you, because that is a long build-up, but you could actually blame the Aussies for the fact that the kickoff is 20 minutes later than it was supposed to be. We have got there, say no to drugs and unwanted advances, says Jason. I guess that's just life advice coming from Jason there. And up the All Blacks, says aviation there. Well, with the Australian national anthem now being sung. Do let me know your score predictions for this game, ladies and gentlemen. Do we get to watch the match or not? Sadly, not due to licensing. Any match footage or audio will get us taken straight off YouTube. Up the ABs, says Alumni there. And well said, Mr. H, says Memento. And go Black-Eyed Roigard. ABs, says Paya there. And also, please tell me why these kids who went out for Australia were dressed as All Blacks. Says Simon, I guess it is just to do with the fact that they've got like the kits of both sides. But you're in real commentary, brother, says Honey. And there as well. But singing loud and proud at the moment for the Australians. They know the occasion of this contest and they know how crucial it is to get themselves a big win here. The Rugby Championship, it's still on the line. Theoretically, if Australia get themselves a win here, of course they will have to hope that the Pumas can do them a favour, but whoever wins this game finishes more than likely second in the Rugby Championship standings. So the question is it going to be Australia or is it going to be New Zealand? You do get that honour. Or are we going to see a plot twist and that Twickenham game be much closer than anticipated? There's a lot of rugby to take place over the next couple of hours, that is for sure. And the good news is, because of the delays of this one, it actually isn't that far away from the start of the next contest. Only 3 hours away from Argentina versus the Springboks. I'm going to be covering that one on the channel as well. So anyone who is new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. 37 points, 42 in favour of the All Blacks. And it is normally a high-scoring game in Perth. They've only had the 2 matches here. 1 win apiece for the 2 sides. Otago smashed Auckland today, so an AB's win will be just a nice bonus, says X. And there as well. And Box chance by tea time. And also Springboks will win it, says Josie. And there as well. But anyone who hasn't already, be sure to get those predictions in, as well as who you think will score the first try in this match. Now, last week, I actually somehow managed to get it right. I said that it would be Caleb Clark, and it was correct. I'm not even going to guess this week because, I'll probably be wrong. I'm going back to try and find that milestone message. It was there for half a second and now it's disappeared. Is it this one? It might be. Our old club asked me to unretire. Politely declined. Says Geza in there as well. Well, you are sounding a little bit like Nick White. Nick White actually in the commentary box for this match. Or not so much the commentary box, but I think he's doing the sideline stuff, or at least helping out, similar to the role that we saw from SBW for a bit of time. I actually think Christie did not even play that bad as expected. Everyone knows he only has 1 shot. Yeah, honestly, Finlay Christie, for that game at Eden Park, I think that he was extremely underrated. Is that a clip-on tie or just skill? It is like tied underneath. It's a double Windsor I decided to go with for this matchup. Scott Barrett, he is at the front of the huck, and we see some fired up All Blacks here. Kick off, please. Says, it was there for Jean. Yeah, we're very close to the start of this contest. And it has felt like a long time coming. I'll be honest. Originally, the kickoff did look like it was going to be 20 minutes ago. Little bit of the delay. I should have a silent moment for the Haka. Hamish says, just me. That would be very tricky to do on the live stream, or very tricky to explain anyway. But the crowd, they can be silent for it. But for the commentary side, I kind of have to talk. We have got there Dave Batten as well. Thank you very much for hitting that membership button. Greatly appreciated. You now have access to those emojis on the channel, so be sure to use them all throughout the match. Whainga Nuku first try and our best left side winger. Always has been. Says Paul there. And Haka is old hat. Still better than welcome. Says X and also WS. Still no kickoff. It is only a minute away though. We are just about at the kickoff for this contest. But yeah, it does feel like a little while since it was initially announced. I'm being silent, says Martin. And Australia is going to win it for the Box here, says Martin. And now Tane Edmere playing his first test against the All Blacks tonight. And it isn't even the case of coming off the bench, instead getting thrown in the deep end by Joe Schmidt, expected to do well up against Damian McKenzie, who has played every single test match under Scott Robertson. He is the only player for New Zealand who has done so. So he gets the start up against the young Tane Edmere. 24-20, ABs to win, says Marius there. This has been a painful wait. Without a beer, says Fleshin. And yeah, like I said, the only good thing is the fact that the next game is just around the corner now. Bom dia, Hamish. And Brendan Brazil. What is Razor's win-loss rate since taking over the ABs? I think it's about 65%, somewhere around there, maybe. When is Beauden Barrett retiring? I don't think he'll be retiring for a little while. But the Bledisloe Cup has already been secured by New Zealand. Listening in the USA, Connecticut, go the All Blacks, says Tasman. And there as well, but Matthew Carley, he will be the man who is in charge of this matchup. And also we have got there, I don't reckon McKenzie will smile much today, says Kawai there. And Fundeswa is not happy at the moment. I'm glad I know some Afrikaans. Unfortunately, I only know the swear words, and that's all that we're seeing today by the looks of it. But now ready to kick this one off, Damian McKenzie. The winner of this game keeps their rugby championship alive, and it is kicked off by New Zealand in a rainy Optus Stadium in front of thousands of bucket hats, is what we saw in the pre-match. But Australia, they have got themselves the possession inside of their own 22. Jake Gordon goes across to Harry Wilson. He's had a lot of carries throughout this rugby championship at this point. And rolling this one back, Jake Gordon. Ready to kick this one towards the sideline and does just that. So it will be the first exit. Perth says, Jimbo, yep, it is a Perth kickoff. Or Perth Stadium matchup for this game at Optus. Seen a lot of cricket taking place here for the Perth Scorchers. We've seen 2 games taking place between New Zealand and Australia before. And now going off to the left-hand side. And South Africans think we don't know their swear words in Afrikaans, says Shazza. Oh no, that was from Floyd King. And let's go New Zealand, says Shazza in there as well. With a lot of emojis, a celebratory one, a couple laughing faces, so perhaps the nerves early on. But Lester Whainga Nuku for his first carry back in an All Blacks kit. Jorgensen looking for the steal in the breakdown. Couldn't quite get a McKenzie. Back across to Artie Savia. This is where New Zealand, they have been so dangerous in terms of the starts for the matches. Thoughts on Carley? I normally don't mind Matthew Carley. I think it's the perfect example. I'll tell you what, Will Skelton's been all over Cam Roigard there. And now they're ripping him by his jersey. They are having a bit of a field day with the youngster. Well, Skelton won the penalty. Nick Frost grabbing Roigard by the jersey and scragging him out of the breakdown. Right, already Will Skelton's getting his first warning from Matthew Carley. That did not take long, nor was it ever going to. Oh, okay, the All Blacks getting told to get out of it. Okay, Scott Barrett has been told that he needs to control his players. I bet you don't know this swear word. I do, because I've been called it multiple times. Oh, wow. Matthew Carley has just said because of the extra bit of stuff that Skelton was doing after the penalty was won, it's going to be a penalty reversed because of the over-the-top reaction from Will Skelton there. That is a big call early on. And, I mean, that is definitely setting the standard. That means that neither side are going to get away with absolutely anything. We have got there as Scott Barrett going to pull his finger. And fair call, says Kawai there. And what an idiot, says Jimbo. And I mentioned about it, how Will Skelton, his breakdown work, it is strong. But at the same time, he can get carried away. And his temper does kind of hurt him a little bit. But now, Damian McKenzie, early kick chance. He's growing a beard, McKenzie. I don't think I've seen him with one for quite a bit of his All Blacks career, but he's decided he's now the veteran in that 10 jersey, and he's hooked it away to the left. I actually saw him do that in the warm-ups as well, so that will keep the score sitting at 0-0 between these two sides. Good call, ref, says Pyer there. And also we'll go there, miss, says JW, and ouch, says Dave, and Wallabies will win this one, says Peter. And Artie Savia, the captain, says Aloy. And how about letting the boys play, says Lyle. But now the Australian goal line, the 22 drop out, and they managed to retain it. Here the Wallabies. Cam Roygaard looking for the steal in the breakdown. Couldn't quite get it. Gordon back across the slipper for his 151st game. Will Skelton trying to bump through Fletcher Null. Now Ed Med goes across to Tom Hooper. Commentator's curse, says JW. Now Ed Med running it straight at Quintal Pai, who has made his first tackle as a number 13 in this matchup. Now rolling this one back, Jake Gordon. Thinking about going high with it and does just that. Down towards the halfway line, running onto it will be Damian McKenzie, who takes a good shot to the spine from Filippo Dongunu. Now Scott Barrett popping it up into the hands of Parker, looking for the offload. Fine Arnook, who knocks it on. Advantage should be in favour of the Australians. No, they've called it as backwards off Aussie, although it was all Leicester's hand that tucked that one. Will Skelter driving tackle on him by Tamaiti Williams. He has decided straight away. There was a little bit of that scuffle early on, and Tamaiti Williams was one of the men tried to protect Cam Roygaard, so I think he's taken it under his belt to try and handle Skelton for this game. Bump off Leroy Carter, doesn't get taken away though, and Dalgunu is wrestled down. Larkite thought about the steal, can't get it. Gordon round the halfway line here for the Australians. Low chop and tackle from Barrett on James Slipper. Gordon back across to the left-hand side. Hooper with a no-look pass on the outside. And it goes into the hands of Harry Wilson, bouncing favourably for the Wallabies. Thought about the inside ball, passes one more to Dalgunu. Looks very heavy underfoot at the moment for these sides, and a bit of a slip from Gordon as well. Leonard Cattell busts through the tackle of Barrett, but Savia is there to tackle and penalty advantage going against Scott Barrett here. Gordon back across to Fraser McBride. Australia working their way up to the 22-metre line now. Edmed and behind finds Max Jorgensen. Nice step, can't get through. Quinta Pyer, who again has been defensively sound for the early stages of the game. Nick Frost, good hands here. Slipper goes to Edmed. Now McWright straightening with his carry before taken down by Parker. New penalty advantage against the All Blacks. And now, there was a little knock on from Australia, but they'll go back for the penalty now in favour of the Wallabies. Great hands in the wet by the Wallabies. Says Jimbo there. Yeah, willing to throw it around early on in this contest by the looks of it. And now the decision is about to be made. Do they go for the corner or do they go for the post? We look at their show game, says Karen. Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio would get us taken straight off YouTube with the copyright strike banned for 3 months and also potentially sued. So, sadly, we can't show it on YouTube. We have good there, mates. So if New Zealand win today, they win the championship? Not at all. If New Zealand win, they have a chance. But they still need Argentina to beat South Africa, which is going to be a hefty task at Twickenham. Definitely with the fact that the last two times South Africa have played Argentina, they have scored 115 combined points. Just South Africa. Skelton is dirty as hell. I find it funny that Aussie fans have been calling for him. Plays a liability, says Arno. And sup, says Jimbo, but they are taking on the 3 points now, Australia. And it has gone over from Edmed, making the score now sitting 3 points to 0 in favour of the Wallabies. I guess in the score, 45 points to 27, says Tix. And the Aussie commentary is so biased, says Lyle. So we have got the Kiwi commentary here, but I guess on Stan Sport, they probably would have the Australian commentary. And now New Zealand, they are down by the 3 early on for this game at Optus Stadium. Kicked off again by New Zealand, not taken cleanly by Frost and jumped on by Fabian Holland. Good chase coming in from the big New Zealand lock. He wasn't initially in the starting lineup or reserves, but due to the Tupavai knee injury, we did see him go in as a late replacement. And now New Zealand getting themselves the penalty there in the breakdown due to no clear release. In fact, playing the halfback is going to be the penalty that they do put up at the top. And that is against Alan Alalatoa. And thanks for always being there for us, watching from the jungle in Borneo and go New Zealand. And slippery ball by the looks of it. Lots of handling errors early on. Yeah, it doesn't look very easy to catch that ball, which is why that first Australian attack was so impressive with the fact that they were going through their hands and willing to get it out to the wingers. But I will also mention, seems pretty slow in terms of the players are not running at full pace. It would seem it looks very heavy at Optus Stadium underfoot. And now Cam Roigard breaking off the back. Here comes Quinn Tupaia, 5 metres out for the line. In fact, he's still going. Tupaia held up just 1 metre short of the try line. Roigard thought about the pick and go. I think he's over. And it's the try there for New Zealand. It's not Roigard. Instead, it is Leroy Carter. Boomfar gets his third in 3 weeks. In 3 matches, I should say. But they are just checking this to make sure that it's going to be all right. Leroy Carter says, Rodney, what was he doing in there? I guess that's from that sevens experience. You've always got to be ready for that next breakdown. And, he picks this up extremely efficiently there. Was short, has one movement. It's looking pretty good from the replay. The only thing that would affect it is a knock-on here. We're checking that the elbow was down. You're allowed 1 drive. That's on the ground. And Leroy Carter will score the first try of the match for New Zealand. Just like that, he is on the board again. Damian McKenzie getting the extra 2. New Zealand now leading this match 7 points to 3. And fantastic, let's go. And also, let's go the All Blacks, says Monkey Muay Thai. And great strength by Carter. Yeah, he's got the leg strength. He's just got pure power no matter where he is across the field. We saw him earlier on with Filippo Dungunu trying to force him backwards and was doing a very good job, but it's kicked off by Australia. Once again, not the start that they would have been after in this game. Already Quinn Tupaia looking like a very good option at 13 for New Zealand. That is the change that they want to make now. Scott Barrett tackled a bit high by Harry Wilson, caught him round the chest. Carter too small. That is what we've been hearing all week. Yeah, he's the one who's making those big hits and beating defenders. Now Suali'i, chance here, he has beat a fair few defenders throughout this competition, finds himself with 4 tries on the board. Leroy Carter is 1 away from catching up. Now Tane Edmed looking for the steal and the breakdown into Mighty Williams, gives away the penalty for just leaving his feet. What actually would happen if you go to lactose intolerant cow's milk? No idea, mate. How do I stop YouTube adverts? I think YouTube Premium is the only way to stop ads, unfortunately. But also, I think YouTube just placed them randomly throughout the live stream, which can get... Sometimes it's terrible timing. It looks like it is going to be a kick at the post again here for the Australians. And same old garbage from the Wallabies. They go up by 3 and the All Blacks get to 7. And no one in Australia do math, says Sacred Cow. And the thing is, right, they are now going for another 3. So as long as New Zealand don't get that counter, which leads to a try here, they will once again be right back in this game. We have good there. Show the game, says Lyle. Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio would get us taken straight off of YouTube. And we would get banned for 3 months, which would mean I get an extended holiday. That's always terrible timing with the ad, says Red Pie. Now, Tane Edmed getting that kick over and making the score now 6 points to 7. So he has had a good start to the day. We have good there. Doors Giggle. It's said his own name there multiple times. And Wildcard is going to hate these kicks. And yeah, YouTube just decided when certain people get ads at certain times, Twitch, everyone adds at the same time on a timer. Why are they kicking for the 3s? It's a good question. I mean, it closes the gap. We're still early on in the game. And I guess the big thing for Australia is they'll back themselves throughout the last 20 minutes. And as long as they're within, half a chance and within 7 of New Zealand going into the last 20, they'd probably feel confident that they can come back and win it. They've been very strong. Last quarter of their games, Harry Wilson hitting the ball up, tackled by Fabian Holland. And for 20 years, the Wallabies haven't figured out that to beat the All Blacks 9 times out of 10, you have to score more tries than they do, says Sacred. That one's going to be knocked on by New Zealand. In fact, no, it's knocked back by by Australia. Now Will Skelton, tackled low by Fabian Holland, puts in a good hit. Jake Gordon going across to Billy Pollard, now popping it up on the right-hand side. Quick hands from Suali'i, finds Jorgensen now, almost cuts through, but great tackle made by Whananuku. Now back across, Billy Pollard, skip pass, goes past Harry Wilson, finds Hooper. It's hit by Fletcher Null and Scott Barrett, a couple of Crusaders. Gordon goes again to Pollard. Wide cut-out pass from Leonikadau in the wide channel. Chance here on the inside. Jorgensen, one more off on the outside. Harry Potter look for Dungunu, who manages to flick it back to Fraser McGrath. I think there was actually more so a drop than a pass, but it is still effective in the breakdown. Geordie Barrett's done his leg. That was pretty ugly in the breakdown, similar to what we saw for Tate McDermott last week. Barrett trying to run on it, but he does look a little bit ginger. He rushes up and drops Tom Hooper for his troubles. Now Dongunu gets the ball on the outside. McWright, ball on the inside to Potter. 2 missed tackles. Mackenzie, Larkai, no tackling and miss it as well. Skelton in open play gets dragged down. And James Slipper just 1 metre short of the try line. The big man, Ikitau now dives towards the line. Last ditch effort from Will Jordan and Larkai. But the Wallabies right on the line now with Billy Pollard's pick and go. Alan Alatoa, he will be over and he has surely scored. Yes, he has. And Australia fire back with the try of their own. And it is Alan Alatoa who does manage to score it. That counter-attack of the Aussies is absolutely lethal. Oh, hang on. Time off. Right, they know there's a grounding, but they're checking. I believe it's that Dongunu pass to Fraser McWright. The one that I mentioned how he didn't seem like he actually purposely did it as a pass. This will be pretty ironic if they do go back for a 4 pass here for the Australians after that Argentine finishing try. Oh no, looking at the clean out. Now this is the one on Geordie Barrett where he did, Barrett, no wonder he was sore. His leg's been bent the wrong way in the breakdown. And they're calling it as the potential of dropping his body weight on a limb here. But, that's hard on Geordie Barrett's leg. He falls onto the limb here is the wording from Matthew Carley. I think they're going to go back for this. And that's, that could have popped a hamstring for Geordie Barrett. A really awkward one for Tom Hooper. Right, they're saying it wasn't always illegal. So it's going to go for an off-field review and a yellow card. No try for Alalatoa, even though it was a brilliant setup there. Awkward fall it was. It was just a really unfortunate clean out. So Tom Hooper, he will make his way off from that number 6 jersey, and that will be no try for the Australians now. And it will go back to 6 points to 7. And if Aussie denied, says Wemar, and I want Australia to win. New Zealand wanted us South Africans to lose last week, says Brett. And Aussie, we were there. Dawes giggle is better than Australia. I think you got some sort of you seem to be stuck on the same words over and over. New Zealand are always lucky, says Skywalker. Yeah, it's probably, to be fair, they're very lucky in that regard that Geordie Barrett hasn't done his hamstring fully. Because we did see that awkward doesn't find touch for Damian McKenzie. Going to be kicked downfield from Filippo Dongunu. Bounces straight into the hands of Will Jordan for his 50th game from the back. That's dangerous, to be fair. Yeah, it could have snapped something in Barrett's leg. And also, we have got there New Zealand. It is Dawes Giggle. And we have got their score of 6 points to 7. It certainly is due to that disallowed try for the Australians. Damian McKenzie kicking this one up high. Geordie Barrett chasing after this one. Looks like he is all right, although he has just knocked that one on. An awkward landing for him as well, but they will go back for their first knock-on from New Zealand. And they'll go back for the scrum now. It will be about 48 metres out from New Zealand's line. Australia playing with the man disadvantage for the next 14 minutes. Is the score correct? Your screen says 11-7. It is an online scoreboard. It updates itself, so I have to wait till it goes away. But the score is currently 6 points to 7. And Elite says aviation in there as well. I can't believe they got disallowed, says Francois. Now Jake Gordon ready to feed this ball in to the scrum. Looks like Will Skelton leaving the field for an HIA here. Tell you what, if he's got an HIA, they need to check to see whatever happened to him. Because he's a big man. So obviously something in a breakdown or a collision. But that is a huge change there. Skelton cannot return out onto the field. Jeremy Williams, he makes his way on. New Zealand is playing with no urgency. They're so confused on defence. And we have good there. I want All Blacks to win with a bonus point. And the Box to lose against the Pumas, says Vincent. And try or no try, Australia just showed how exposed New Zealand is, says Paul. They may have, but they'll be so disappointed that it didn't lead to those points on the ball. Will Jordan will be a Centurion before 30th, injury-free. Surely that's some type of record, says just me. Well, that's the thing. I think that Will Jordan's definitely looking at that Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe all-time try scorers record for New Zealand. And he'll be trying to work his way towards it. Of course, injury-free would be the big 2 words there. Jake Gordon goes across the Tane Emir, trying to pierce the gap, but Savia takes him down to Paya in the breakdown. Cleaned out by Harry Wilson. Alan Alatoa, he'll be so disappointed that he didn't end up scoring that try, as, he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. to be able to do so. Oh, what's the score? Score is currently 6 points to 7. Once again, it's an online scoreboard. I can't do anything about it. The James Slipper. Now 45 metres out from the line. It pops out the back of the Australian breakdown. Tane Edmed. Now stepping across to the right-hand side. Harry Wilson. It may not be the wrong score for long. Australia keep on getting this attack the way that they are. Jake Gordon now popping the ball on the inside. Tane Edmed goes to Billy Pollard. And it's going to be another penalty. This time not rolling away. Goes against New Zealand. And we have got there New Zealand need to run more straight. The cut through New Zealand's offence better, says Francois. She must update the scoreboard. The try is disallowed. The try was disallowed. It's an online scoreboard. I can't do anything about it. In fact, I might even just take it off the screen. Might be easier. Change the score, my friend. It's an online scoreboard. I can't do anything about it. They're going for the shot at the post. But now Tane Edmed sitting there 41 metres out from the line. We have got there, D-Mac, sort your footy out, dude. Says Pye, and Scott Barrett will probably be carded this match. And there as well, but they are just showing there, not rolling away, goes against Scott Barrett. The thing is, he's had a red card at Optus Stadium before. So it wouldn't surprise me if it happens again. 41 metres from the line now. We have got there, guys, think Hamish alone, the scoreboard is not his doing. Says Geza, change the scoreboard, Hamish. Change the scoreboard, says Josh. Well, hopefully when the Australians get the 3 points here from Tane Edmed, it will update to 9 points rather than the 7. Although what would be quite funny is if it goes up to 14. Now, this one is kicked over from Tane Edmed. You could refresh the scoreboard page. It is actually refreshing. You can tell by that little dot that is coming up next to 18. That says that it is ticking over and it is still live. So it is where they are at on the online scoreboard. And the score now sits 9 points to 7. Scoreboard needs changing, does it? But now, chance here. Oh, this is about the yellow card. Referee is calling them over. This is a red. This is a big call here. Right, it's going to remain as a yellow card. In the scenario, make your scoreboard right. Says Roland, once it updates, it will be right. But it is currently not sitting right. Has anyone mentioned the scoreboard is wrong, says Kiwi? I don't think so, not yet, anywhere. We have got the remains of yellow, says Jimbo. So yeah, that means that Tom Hooper, he will be back in 10 minutes' time. Now kicking this one off for McKenzie. And good call remaining as a yellow. Change the scoreboard. We're going off to the right-hand side. Jake Gordon. Now popping it up. Leonard Katau. Nice ball to Suali'i. Trying to pierce his way through it. It looked like at the moment Lester Faiananuku doing his best impersonation of Razor, doing a bit of breakdancing on the ground with a bit of a spinner Rooney thrown in there. Whilst the score is currently 9 points to 7 in favour of the Australians. And come on, the All Blacks. Aussie's in charge of the scoreboard, says Memento. It does seem that way. And mate can't change the scoreboard. It's not his, says Random BG. Yeah, it is just an online scoreboard. We can't do anything about the way that it's sitting at the moment. And the fact that they haven't updated it yet, obviously whoever was doing it has gone to sleep. And now Harry Wilson. And one's going to be knocked on by Lester Faiananuku. A second knock on off this game so far. And now cross kick for Tane Edmed. Looking to find the hands of Dungunu. That one's gone out on the full. As it's 6-7, it is 9-7 at the moment. In terms of the score. What we are going to do though, because it is going to obviously be a big problem, is we're going to put a scoreboard down the bottom of the screen as well. And we'll put it in all caps. And we'll have it as the real score, just so that there's no confusion around what is happening. There you go. That's the real score at the moment. Betcha it will update very soon though. Now, Cody Taylor. That one's going to be slapped away for the Australians. It is into the hands of Jake Gordon now. Tane Edmed, loose ball and a penalty again going against the New Zealanders. Was that Scott Barrett in through the side? Yes, it is. That's his third penalty that's gone against him here. Barrett is not having a great start to this contest. New Zealand starting to look a little bit tight. It's gone back to 6-7. They almost get in there. We have got there. Thanks, Hamish. Thanks, boss, for the real score, says Apollos there. Now Tane Edmed getting ready to kick this one towards the corner. I've decided to go against the three-pointers. Okay, that's hilarious. Kiwi's being triggered because Australia has a bigger lead, only 2 points on the scoreboard. Says Paul there. There we go. It has updated itself, the scoreboard. So anyone who wants to see the updated score, here it is. Now, line out here. 19 minutes into the contest. No, it says 20. 75% possession at the moment for the Australians. Billy Pollard, he has scored a few times throughout this rugby championship. Now, not straight. Called against the Wallabies. That is a big hit to their momentum. What's the actual score? The actual score is this one now. We have got it all sorted out. We prefer your scoreboard. Says Skywalker. Yeah, that one was a bit wonky. Fabian Holland going up for the line-out steal. The All Blacks actually had to throw him pretty much straight across. Tamati Williams there having a bit of a joke with Harry Wilson by the looks of it. It seems like the teams are in much better spirit ever since Will Skelton went off. And crazy possession stats. Yeah, Australia at the moment doing very nicely in terms of the possession. We're playing like old dogs' balls. So he's distracted. And what's the score at the moment? It is 9 points to 7 after the 20 minutes between these two sides. Over there, thanks so much, your legend, says Brett. And also, we have there, Edmed playing well so far. And that's so irritating. Throw the bloody ball straight. More lackluster garbage from the All Blacks. Nothing changes. Well, the penalty count is certainly going up there. And like I mentioned, New Zealand have gone 3 games in a row without giving away a single yellow card. But it wouldn't surprise me if the first time that they get one was going to be a red at Optus Stadium. They have had a red every time that these two sides have played at this location. Big fin from Peter Lakai and the advantage in favour of New Zealand. Here they will go back for the penalty. Do you think the disallowed try messed up the coding? Scoreboard, AI at its best? Probably. I think it probably did affect it a little bit. Definitely with how far back they had to go for that Hooper clean out. You know, that was probably about 10 phases or so before the Aussies scored it. And Scott Barrett is as much use as a woman, says Jason there. And how many minutes have been played at the moment? 21 minutes down in this contest. Cody Taylor ready to throw this one in. And they will go to the back where Simon Parker was waiting for it. A hard landing for Nick Frost, who just gets dropped by his lifters as they join that rolling maul. Come on, New Zealand, another try, please, says Novmum. Now, it's still called as the same maul. Cody Taylor breaking off the back. Joining into the breakdown very quickly was McWright, but can't quite get that steal that he was after. Leroy Carter tries to step, but wrestled down by Len Ikitau. Australia, I believe they won't be a mile away from having that yellow card finish. Now Quinn Tupai passes on the outside of Will Jordan. Straightens and tries to go through Suali'i. Drags him down by his collar. Now Whainā Nuku breaks through one challenge. Oh, that was almost an illegal clean out from Quinn Tupai. McKenzie goes across Simon Parker. Now finds Leroy Carter. Step from Savia. Bumps out of Ikitau. Carter again. The All Blacks drifting sideways. Someone needs to straighten, and it's Holland who ends up slipping over. And Australia, they've got that ball back. Massive shot from Leroy Carter. They'll go back now for the scrum in favour of the Australians, I believe it should be, for the Fabian Holland knock on. Oh, what a tackle, says Haino, and Carter, what a tackle. He just loves lining people up and smashing them backwards. But the All Blacks, the one thing that they didn't quite have there, they continue drifting sideways. No one really straightening through that next gap. I feel like maybe 1 or 2 more passes and they were just about to get ready for it. We have good there. Whataburger has said, any live streams that actually just show the game the way we want to see it, like just the game instead of this talking to the camera rubbish? Well, fun fact, there's a thing called Sky, there's a thing called Stan, there's a thing called Super Sport. You just have to pay for it. Unfortunately, not a lot of free options unless you want to get a virus on your computer that's telling you there's a nice lady 2Ks away who wants to hook up for a good time. But other than that, you're probably stuck, unfortunately, listening to me, which is unfortunate for yourself. And maybe you want a man who is 2Ks away, posing as a woman, who is looking for a good time. I know that it gets lonely in the world, so, you know, if that's your poison, I'm sure you can find a live stream somewhere. We have got the rugby, you're making the rules as you go along, says Derek. And Roy goes, eyes look mean. He's had a couple big shots throughout the last couple games that we've seen for Cam Roigard. And Dalgunu with a try-saving read in defence there, says Fiji Islander. And yes, the All Blacks, says Alvin there. And mine is 600 metres. 600 metres. I remember George said he had one, not literally, but he had one that said that they were 2Ks away, but he lives way out in the country. So he said they must be in the paddock somewhere. Now, ball in the hands of the Wallabies. Len Ikitau passes across to Emir. That was a flat pass to Max Jorgensen, but this has opened up a huge amount of space. What a tackle that is from Quinn Tupai right round the bootlaces. And he wins the penalty for New Zealand as well. You're off your feet, get up, is the comment there from Matthew Carley to the Australians. Mine's in bed, says Nick. And also, we have got the great commentating agencies, Firelight Gaming there. 5 penalties conceded at the moment from the Australians compared to the 4 that we have seen from New Zealand. And when is it time for you to buy an All Blacks tie? I don't know do they sell? Surely they'd sell All Blacks ties, wouldn't they? Rolling will try, I think, says Nodmum. But a great low tackle. Quinton Pye's had a field day so far in that number 13 jersey. Oh, here comes Will Skelton. No, never mind. Here comes Tom Hooper. Jeremy Williams is still out there. We haven't seen the return of Skelton as of yet. Oh, that's going to be knocked on by Simon Parker. Mistake made by New Zealand again with their handling. Of course, there were going to be a few drop balls for this game in the rain. Advantage is now over. Lena Cattell clearing the lines with a good boot. Oh, no. Okay, advantage was never over, even though Matthew Carley said advantage over because Lena Cattell kicked it out on the full. We have got there. I'll check if you do sell, or if they do sell All Blacks ties. The lineouts are in shambles tonight. Yeah, for two sides, they have had pretty solid lineouts throughout this competition. They are looking pretty shaky in that department. Where can you watch it live for free? Sadly, there aren't a lot of free options. If you're in like a random country, there is a chance it might be on NZR Plus. I believe they have got the location for, or the licensing for certain countries, but I think you have to be way out in the middle of nowhere in terms of like non-rugby watching countries, if that makes sense. We have it looks like D-Mac is growing a beard. Says no mum there. We have good there. Yes, they do, says Geza. And no magic from Harry Potter. Yeah, hasn't really touched the ball a huge amount at this stage. Harry Potter for the Wallabies. Big free kick there for the Australians. It was a solid enough looking scrum from both of the teams. We have good there. Sorry, presenter user screen for both playing teams. Empty pitch. Stadium feels ghostly. I don't talk to fans, just advice. Wait, use a screen for both playing teams. Empty pitch stadium. As in like behind me or like that one over there with the scoreboard perhaps? Now going off to the right-hand side, Cam Roigard. On the halfway line here, Scott Barrett takes the collision with Alalatoa as well as Jeremy Williams. Now back into the pocket, McKenzie. Getting up high, Will Jordan chasing after this ball. Nicely taken by Filippo Dangunu. Catching it above his head. Now the Wallabies have got this ball. They do still have the yellow card in play for Australia, but that has expired. We see Tom Hooper back out there on the field again. Tane Embe back across to the left-hand side. Rush defence from, I think it was Leroy Cardinal. In fact, that time it would have been Will Jordan, but another penalty going the way of the Wallabies. We're going to get a yellow card for not rolling away, says Haino. And there as well, Hamish should play for a tie, says Len there. And also we've got the penalty stacked up now, says the AO underdog pick. Now we've seen 3 of the last 5 penalties going against New Zealand. This time they are showing Artie Savia, although he was the one who charged down that kick, so I'm not too sure whether or not he is actually the man who gave away that penalty. We have got there something different. AB's chance to try and make a comeback in the second half, then losing it, says Laurie. We have got there Harry Potter must be using his invisibility cloak tonight. Yeah, although I wouldn't be surprised if they try and go out to his wing here soon. Whainā Nuku, he's been solid enough, so Quinton Pye, actually the man who was penalised there for Will Jordan not rolling away. Pye frustrated with that one there. Sitting about 30 metres out from the line now, Billy Pollard. That's here to throw it in, nicely taken by Nick Frost. Now Jake Gordon, tackled by Scott Barrett, Larkai. Just to make the tackle on Fraser McWright. Little bit of a step there in the middle of the field from Pollard. Oh, skip pass. That looked close to forward. Harry Potter with a little chip in behind. It's going to be in the in-goal area and just goes dead. The All Blacks have got the option now going right back to where Harry Potter kicked it from for the scrum, and I believe that is the better choice out of the two. Early days, yet early days. Says ambidextrous. We have got the early days, yet early days. And also, yes, a bit says Matthew, not selling All Blacks ties at the moment in case fans use them. Oh. And where can I watch the match? It is available on Sky Sports, Stan Sports, Super Sport, I believe in the UK. They also have got the option, why aren't you playing today? Because I suck at rugby. So that's the best reason why. Currently 12 minutes remaining in this first half. There's a little bit of a Wallabies chant going around Optus Stadium as well. There was a massive amount of support for this Australian side in this contest, and they are still leading in this game. That's the thing. As many penalties as New Zealand have given away, and as strong as a couple of their attacking chances have been, they've just scored that one try at this point in time. And this half has flown by, says Geza. Yeah, it's been going very fast in this matchup, and I feel like that next game between the Box and Argentina is going to be the exact same. We are, of course, going to be covering that one straight after this game is over. Who's looking the better side? I would say Australia have looked the better team on attack. And New Zealand, their penalty count is hurting them here. Even though the sides, they've actually given away the same amount of penalties. Nice short side run from Peter Larkai. Cutting back in was Cam Roigard for getting wrestled almost into touch by Tane Emir. Pick and go from Larkai again. Tackled round the neck. It's going to be the advantage now for the ABs. McKenzie goes to Barrett, who has dropped that ball. Referee rules it as backwards, so McKenzie bumping off two. Eventually tackled by Frost. And Tane Emid has looked really good. He's actually stepped up big time in this game, and I think that he was one of those parts of the back line that people were quite concerned about. Geordie Barrett tried to grab a forward, goes to Harry Potter. That is, I believe, accidental offside there for Tom Hooper. He actually caught that ball ahead of his Wallabies teammate, but it will be play on it now. Matthew Carley does get the call. It was an accidental offside from the Australians, so they will go back for the scrum. Field position at the moment. The New Zealanders will have the scrum about 35 metres out from the Australian line. We're going to see it here. Bounces off Harry Potter to his teammate who was in front of him. Oh, it's the accidental offside call. There's a massive Harry Potter fan, or I'm a massive Harry Potter fan. I've read all 7 books. As Ray's a really an amazing coach. Says Francois. It depends on who you talk to a little bit. But I do think at the moment we certainly haven't seen the peak of his coaching for the All Blacks. And bad game by the All Blacks, says Driss. And also, do we now also say that New Zealand plays boring, uncreative rugby, says Paul. And I may be old, but I remember when New Zealand used to play like the All Blacks. This is a lost, rudderless footy team, says Tony. And also we could argue that that was a charge down, says Just Me. You could a little bit, although I do also think it may have struck the hand to Harry Potter, so it may have been the knock-on against him anyway. They are just showing own scrums won. So far, the Australians have not lost a singular scrum for themselves. New Zealand are sitting second in terms of the scrum percentage throughout this Rugby Championship with 93% in their favour. We respect the All Blacks from South Africa, says Benjamin, and Razor is a good coach, but this is not Super Rugby. This is international rugby. Must level up its game plan, says Apollos. Now, Roigard putting the ball in. New Zealand have made 74 tackles at this stage of the contest compared to Australia's 24. That really does show for that possession stat as well with them sitting. Oh, that's a good bit of work there from Australia. They do have to release him. Roigard. Back across to Scott Barrett, the captain. What can he do to fire up this AB side? So far, he's given away 3 penalties, so that possibly hasn't helped. In terms of team morale, and another penalty in favour of the Wallabies. Massive play from Fraser McWright. Manages to get that steal in the breakdown. ABs are even playing like Crusaders, says Dalmain. How long till halftime? Still another 9 minutes remaining before the halftime break. At the moment, Australia still leading in this contest, 9 points to 7 over New Zealand. Now the All Blacks are nowhere, says Haino. Penalties conceded now. The count has gone against New Zealand, 6 points to 5, the way that it sits currently, but that ball's gone into touch about 40 metres out from New Zealand's line. The big collision between Soali'i and Whainā Nuku. It sat both of them down. Just so bad this poor, says Tony. Hamish, what do you think of the Springboks and Argentina score will be? I did do a prediction in the preview video. I ended up going South Africa by 25 in the end. Tobias says Tai Nui. He started this match pretty well for the New Zealanders. A massive steal at line-out time from Fabian Holland. Now Carter going across to Artie Savia, moving on to Barrett. Grubbed in behind by Geordie again. I guess they've decided since, that's a big collision again. Quintabaya, ball going to sit up for him surely here for New Zealand, and he will score the try. Although they'll check it. There may have been a knock-on from Geordie Barrett there. I think that is exactly what they will go back to check in this scenario. Quintabaya likes it, but then, of course, he was not the one. Right, Barrett looked happy enough. What I was just about to say is Barrett has taken over from his brother in terms of those little kicks in behind that sometimes do not work for New Zealand, but in this case, the bounce of the ball may not have quite gone the way of the Wallabies. We're going to see the replay now. Harry Potter went for the ball. Hits Geordie Barrett square in the forehead, so that is play on. And it will be the try for Quinn Tupaia. I think they're just hit straight off the middle of the forehead. That is in football known as a header. And in rugby, that is known now as a try for Quinn Tupaia. So it's not a knock on. And Quinn Tupaia will score himself a much-deserved try. I'll tell you what, he's probably securing this number 13 jersey right now. Look at that, Geordie using his head. Says memento there. And also, when you call TMO, Tane, the correct Māori pronunciation, because his Māori is not, or is not Tane. Or when are you going to call him Tane, says Alan. Well, he hasn't corrected me, has he? But I can call him that if that is what he wants to be called, if that is how to say it. It's the simple thing of just saying, hey, this is how you say it, you're saying it wrong. Rather than some random fella coming in. We have got there, it'd be great if New Zealand win this. So they have a clear shot to defend their title, or our title fair and square this afternoon. Although, the thing is, South Africa are defending champs though. So in a way, it is currently South Africa's title. And we have got their match time, please, at the moment. It's 33 minutes through, and that one's kicked out on the full. Or is it? No. The flag is up on the far side. Carl Dixon, Leroy Carter's asking the question, was that not out? And referee says it was... Oh, no, they're going back now. I think the referee, there was a little bit of miscommunication there. As they said, yep, it was on the line. And then everyone went, wait. So then they do go back to the halfway line now. Miss kicks under the sticks. Yeah, did miss to the side for Damian McKenzie. I should mention 12 points to 9 at the moment. The way that this one does sit. Tane Randall wasn't, Tane was it? Says Kiwi NZ. Yeah, just hits the line. Leroy Carter was happy about it too. And New Zealand says Pearl. And is the scoreboard correct? It is currently, yes, 34 minutes through, 12 points to 9. Love needs to go on, says Jai. Who would you put him on for in this scenario? Out of curiosity, you put him on for McKenzie, I assume, as a switch you're making there. We have the Australian need tries if they want to beat New Zealand. Nice try, New Zealand. Says Brett there too. Scott Robertson, I don't think he'll be 100% happy with how this first half has happened. Bring up Mr. Love, please. So for McKenzie, you're taking McKenzie off in that 10 jersey, chucking Ruben Love out there. The thing is, though, Ruben Love has played more minutes, I believe, as a 14 for New Zealand than a 15. Will Jordan trying to pierce his way through, goes to Roygaard, looks like a flat pass. They may check that one depending on what happens here. Ball is available for New Zealand. Pick and go. Jordan goes off to the right-hand side. Scott Barrett to Mighty Williams. Knocking the ball backwards. Has to dive on it. Gunu all over him, but they'll go back for the penalty again. Now, New Zealand going for the quick tap. Will Jordan cross to the left-hand side. Quinn Tupaia. He's going to put in the fend. He stores another one, Quinn Tupaia. And that is now 2 in a row for that man. And the All Blacks have scored twice in 4 minutes now. Quinn Tupaia gets himself the double. And Quinny says the underdog pick there. And go New Zealand, says Ria, and that offload was forward. It did look close to forward from Will Jordan to Cam Roygaard. I would like to see it again, but I don't know if we're going to see it once more. But the quick tap taken, and then New Zealand over for Quinn Tupaia. Although, to be fair, because New Zealand took a quick tap, I believe that counts as a new start of play. So they can't actually go back to check that one with the TMO, I don't believe. We have got there, Quinn needs to go to 12 and less than 13, it's obvious. Says Lincoln there, found our centre, just need to find a goal kicker. Says distracted. Although normally, McKenzie's not too bad on a normal given day. So I assume in that case you're playing Beauden Barrett as your 10, Tony, in that case. And you just put a McKenzie back to the bench. McKenzie has hit the post and that one's come back out, so he hasn't quite had the field day off the kicking tee as of yet. McKenzie awful kicking. Good afternoon, Hamish. Hope you're well, says Merley. Tupaia is such a great player, says Monkey Muay Thai. Yeah, he's just showing his class at the moment for the ABs. Already 2 tries to his name. And come on, New Zealand, put up a score. South Africa needs you at your best. Let's go the All Blacks, says Michael. And there too. Now this one's kicked off by the Australians, going high. Nicely taken by Holland. Sitting about 20 metres out from the line. I will mention, I think that at this point in time, the Australians, going into halftime down by 8, I think they'll be pretty disappointed with how this one sits. Nicely taken by Suali'i. Looks like Barrett may have hurt his knee though. Is he going to get back up? It looks like a clean steal on the breakdown from New Zealand, although Barrett is still limping a little bit in back play. Now the other Barrett, Scott, goes to McKenzie across to Leicester. Whananuku. That was a hospital pass, but he's managed to skip around the outside. Whananuku breaking 4 tackles and just can't quite get his pass away. So it is the knock-on advantage in favour of the Aussies going short side. Wilson throws it to Barrett, and they'll go back now, I believe, for the scrum. Scoreboard says Dalmain. And New Zealand is getting into this game now, says Sean. What is the latest score? At the moment, the score is 17 points to 9 with 38 minutes gone on the clock. Now we have the 13 shirt nailed on, says Jimbo. Yeah, his first start since before 2023 as a 13. But I guess playing a guy out of position when he is playing this well will not hurt the All Blacks that badly, I don't think, with the way that their midfield has been functioning throughout this year. Good morning, salutations from London. Talk commentary excellent. Always listen to you. Thank you for your time, says Calvin. And of course, we are going to be back for that South Africa versus Argentina game around the corner as well. Nicely taken by Nick Frost at the back of the line. Out Edmed goes to Ikatel, pops it in behind. Now Potter shovels it on. Now Max Jorgensen flicks it out the back door to Filipo Dunguda. Great tackle made by McKenzie, who shuffled back quick. Jordan wanted the steal. Matthew Carley tells him to get out of it. 90 seconds remaining now in the half. Tane Edmed, one of his first mistakes of the day, dropping that ball. New Zealand looking for the steal, can't get it, but they will go back for the scrum again. Dalguna has played really well, says HDB. And analysing a player out of position, says Dalmain. And also Tane Edmed, says Johnny. Yeah, his first real error that he has had throughout this match, but it was a nice link-up play from Jorgensen as well as Dalguna. Just that little flick on the inside. And then Edmed, he was looking at Jorgensen, looping around him there. He's frustrated with that one, Edmed, as it does give New Zealand just one last attacking chance before the end of the half. Still 60 seconds remaining at the moment. The way that it sits, I'm not yeah, no, it is correct. New Zealand have a bonus point here, ladies and gentlemen. Because of Australia taking 3-pointers and New Zealand scoring 3 times, if this was the way that the match ends, New Zealand would receive the full 5. And that means that South Africa, there's a little bit more pressure, but at the same time, they are sitting with that massive points differential. This has to be D-Mac's last test. He's choking again. There's Leighton there. Thank you. There's premium commentary. You're up there, mate. Says Drums. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. That one's gone into touch from the Australians. But it is going to be the line out around the halfway line here. Sitting currently 15 seconds remaining in the first half. If New Zealand can score again now, that would just put that little bit more pressure on the Wallabies for the second half. What a difference having proper midfielders makes. And Tupai Legend is born. Oh, big siren sounding now at Optus Stadium. And, that could have been stolen, but a very good arm from Fabian Holland. Looking short side now, Roygaard taking the collision with Jeremy Williams. So no Will Skelton still in this matchup, ladies and gents. Was that a yellow card? Says Tommy. It's one of those ones that could have done severe damage. So, some would consider it harsh, but then at the same time, you can understand why it was a card, if that makes sense. I'm glad it wasn't a red, though, because I don't think he injured him severely enough to warrant a red card in that scenario. And it was just that he slipped down off the hips, down onto the legs. Now Roygaard on off to the left-hand side. Peter Lakai almost through the gap. Can't quite get back up to his feet. Off on the offload up until he's down. And Roygaard now McKenzie off to Will Jordan. Has Whananuku with him. And a big collision there between Williams and Jordan. Now Roygaard cross to Peter Lakai. Geordie Barrett running sideways. Finds Quinto Paya. Big collision with Suali'i. Drops the ball and now it's a foot race. Leroy Carter winning it there. And the All Blacks will kick this ball dead. And it will now be halftime in this contest. 17 points to 9. The score halfway through this match in the last round of the Rugby Championship. Suali'i being quiet, although that was a massive hit and almost led to the attacking chance for the Wallabies there. Frico subs on second half, go to the wing. So which wing are you putting him on for? Because Whainā Nuku, he's had a couple decent carries throughout the early stages of this match. Carter's quick, he is. He's an athlete and a half, and from that 7 circuit, you can just tell that when he went back to Union and, gave it that proper crack, he was going to be a handful for any team. Such a late night, this says Australia. It is. Australia deciding to make it start at 11:05 rather than the 10:45 there was initially going to be. Great commentary, says Ambidextrous. And everyone says Casey and Tolson. And Wallabies let the cat out of the bag 30 minutes in, says Jimbo. And also, ABs are amazing. Says Dalmani, excellent commentary as always. My friend says points of reference. And we have got plenty more coming up today. We've still got that matchup between South Africa and Argentina. And then alongside that, we are also going to be covering the matchup between Leinster and the Bulls. That is a rematch of last year's URC final. And we will be doing that one on the channel as well. The Connacht versus Stormers URC game has been postponed due to bad weather. So that is now the second game that they've had to postpone. I know that they had one yesterday that didn't take place for, I believe it was Edinburgh and Ulster. I believe say Damien Offey is not helping New Zealand bring on Ruben Love. Says Oswald there. And I see zero improvement by Razor. And a game always worse. And Connacht underwater. Says Jimbo there. And what happens if the Abies get another 25 points? Says Memento. In terms of the overall standings, it would still mean that Argentina do still need that win. No matter what happens, Argentina need to win their next game. Or New Zealand need to win this one by such a large margin that they get a bonus or their points differential. They have to win this game by 60 plus to even have half a chance. And that would rely on South Africa only winning their game by 1. So, it's not going to happen in that regard for points differential. But what could happen and what has to happen if New Zealand want to win this rugby championship is South Africa have to lose to Argentina at Twickenham. And that is not going to be an easy task for Los Pumas. They have looked a little bit deflated, definitely in that second half in the last game up against South Africa. But it's a new day. And also, that pressure of the rugby championship being on the line. These are the matches that we saw last week. 33 points to 24 in favour of New Zealand over the Australians. In that 67 point to 30 win for the South Africans over the Argentinians. But looking through at the benches for these two sides for Australia, they have already had to make a couple of their changes due to, or in fact just the one at this stage, I should say, of Jeremy Williams. He had to make his way onto the field for the big man, Will Skelton, who went off with an HIA, and he has not returned back into this game. So a big hit there for the Aussies in the early stages of the contest. They still have the impact of Rob Valentini as well as James O'Connor to make their way off the bench. That can certainly add something here for the Wallabies late. Josh Fluke, bit of pace there. Tongan Thor in the number 18 jersey as well. For New Zealand, they have got Samisoni Taukei'aho. He scored himself 3 tries so far throughout this rugby championship. At the moment, Leroy Carter on that same number, sitting with the 3 tries. But Bauer and Basilio Tossi, they are going to be the 2 front row replacements in the propping department. Patrick Tuipulotu. The thing is, I don't think you can take Fabian Holland off at the moment. So the question is, would they put Scott Barrett off and Tuipulotu on? Or would that be something that they only do with about 5-10 minutes remaining in this match? I honestly think 30 minutes remaining, you give Tuipulotu a decent run here. Definitely if Barrett's just coming back from injury as well. No point risking him and giving him some sort of further injury here for this game. Satiti, he is there as the number 20 to add a bit of impact later on in the match too. Ioane, Love, and Ratama, they are the back replacements here. We got 59 messages that just came through. So that is pretty impressive there. We have got there as well, what's your opinion on the neck roll? Well, you obviously don't want to neck roll people, do you? Are you talking about the Tom Hooper one? Because if you are, that wasn't actually a neck roll per se. They actually said it was for him body weight down on the limbs of Geordie Barrett. It could have been a bit of a rough one in that regard. And please don't remind me about that final, says Hayno there. And Tapai Whainā Carter, all playing well. Scott Barrett, not so much, says Rodney. And great game, but Australia is not playing bad, says Messi there. And also we have got there, did Big Will Skelton get injured? He ended up with an HIA. So I have no idea what was the head knock that caused that man to go from the field. But whatever it was pretty substantial. In that regard, he's not horrible, but I just think he isn't playing great today. And Love needs a chance, says Jaya. In terms of that number 10 jersey, I assume for Mackenzie. And we'll get there, Ruben Love in 10 quick. And Los Pumas deserves to win. But they're best this season in a matter of time, says Bruce. And All Blacks need top assistant coaches. And this match doesn't really matter. We'll be watching the Springboks lift the Rugby Championship trophy in Twickenham later. Says Alistair Hall, although in that case, like second place, by that logic, is still on the line here for these two sides. And also world ranking points. If New Zealand win this game, they will move up to second in the overall standings, ahead of Ireland, heading towards that Rugby World Cup draw taking place on the 3rd of December. If Australia win this game, they will feel that it is extremely substantial because they will move into the top 6 for that World Cup draw, which will mean that they get a favourable pull. So, there is a lot on the line for these two teams, no matter how people try and look at it. But, of course, that game around the corner, South Africa versus Argentina, in terms of the Rugby Championship, that is definitely one to keep an eye on for the comp. We have got the Hamish screen from Namibia. Great commentary, usual, mate. Says Bruno, thank you very much, greatly appreciated. Why is Ratama on the bench? As in, why is he on the bench rather than starting, or why is he on the bench in general? Kiwi NZ. Razor will be out in 2026. I don't think he will be because New Zealand don't have enough money to sack him. They'd made the same error with Ian Foster, that they lock in a big money deal and then they actually have to beg the coach to leave the job because they don't have enough money to pay him out. And I don't think they'll do that with Razor. And I don't know whether or not, Razor, I don't know if he would stand down if he was asked by New Zealand Rugby, or whether he'd say, no, you gave me till 2027 and I'm going to stay for that long. Was it a neck roll? It was deemed a croc roll. Says Rodney there. Hi, Hamish. What time is South Africa versus Argentina match? That game is kicking off in just the 2 hours' time. So it is actually pretty close. The ref doing everything to slow New Zealand down. Terrible reffing. Says half court. Thanks for the clarity. Agree, lots at stake, says Alistair. And also we have got there why your ads either about dating sites or hemorrhoid cream. They normally do it recommended on what you've been viewing. Normally in terms of your side ads. So hopefully everything in the dating life's going well. Jason, we have got there. I've never enjoyed the commentary or enjoyed the Aussie commentary. The game ended right now. The All Blacks will be second in the world, says Kiwi Rob. And also Aussies have improved more than the All Blacks, says Alistair. Yeah, the Australians have been pretty consistent throughout the whole Rugby Championship competition. What happened to the AB's bank account? It's been a number of factors, but I think last year New Zealand Rugby lost a record amount of money, which is not ideal. And come on, Australia, we box supporters believe in you, says Andrew. And so whereas the Rugby Championship trophy, then I would assume that it would have to be in England in that regard. And Wildcard has left the stadium early, says Haino, and the All Blacks team is as withered, patchy, and unable to hide the regression, says Echo there. But what we will do is we will look through at the upcoming games for these two sides while we still have a little bit more time in this first half and second half break. But Japan versus Australia, that is an intriguing game. Because Eddie Jones, of course, has coached both of those sides. He is currently coaching the Japanese. He was a part of that Australian coaching team. In fact, head coach when Australia had their worst ever finish in a Rugby World Cup. Now they go head-to-head in just 3 weeks' time. England versus Australia, that will be an intriguing type of game. Italy versus Australia, Ireland versus the Aussies, and then France versus Australia. That is the last game. That is November the 23rd. For New Zealand, they have got the 4 matches coming up for the November internationals, up against the Irish, the Scottish, the English, and the Welsh. We will be covering all of those on the channel, as well as all of the Australian matches too. There's also an Australia A game coming up in the near future. I believe that is taking place in 2 weeks' time. I'm hoping to cover that one if it is shown here as well. Bring back Buck, says James there. Need to consolidate and put the foot on the gas when the bench comes on. Well, that's the thing. The Wallabies have closed out many of their matches in this Rugby Championship effectively. So the last thing that New Zealand can afford is to have any sort of little mistakes that then allow the Wallabies to really pounce on that opportunity. Because they've done it before. They did it up against the Argentines. They did it up against South Africa. Last game up against New Zealand, they didn't get as many. I didn't write them a start instead of being on the bench because they were giving Cam Roigard more minutes and also trying out that combo with Damian McKenzie. And Quinton Lester have been great, says Jay Link. What happened to Skelton? Missed that. So it was a head knock that took the man off for an HIA. And like I said, it must have been a big one to take him down. So I'll have to look back at it at some stage to see what we can find in that regard. I assume it was just something in the breakdown or a bit of a stray limb of some sort. Schmidt finishes in 2026 and available. Says Riss there. And Skelton only does well against weak Northern Hemisphere sides, says Cobber, and Razor is a device to remove hair from your body, mainly the face, says Jason. See, if we had a Manscaped sponsorship, that would have been the perfect time to chuck that in, wouldn't it? Royard number 1, says Driss. And also we've got there, I've been impressed with Quinn at 13, bit more creativity. Yeah, already scoring himself 2 tries throughout this match for New Zealand. Also Leroy Carter able to score the other one. So at this point in time, Carter has played 3 games for New Zealand and has scored 3 tries. He's trying to go for that Will Jordan record for that 100% success rate. At this stage, Proctor is done, says Cronies, and also I don't see the Wallabies turning this one around. Sorry, says the Trooper. Yeah, see, I'm still of the belief that because of the earlier stages of the Rugby Championship, 22-0 they were down. And they won that game by 16 points. So I don't know whether or not they're completely out. What is that, English? I can't understand a stuff, says Juan. And what happened to Blaze, says Michael. And also 8 missed points, says Patrick. There, Leicester is a machine, says Phil. Do you think the Wallabies can come back, says Scotty? I wouldn't put it past them. The thing, though, is they haven't scored any tries as of yet. So New Zealand actually do sit with a bonus point at this point in time. Ajbaya nearly cost us a try. Well, lucky he scored 2 to make up for it, which is still better than at this stage. If you're comparing him to Proctor in the last game, for instance, Proctor did not score any. So at least Quinn Tupaea is still sitting, in that case, a 2-1 favourite. In that regard, one day a generation of Wallabies will come, say, nope, screw the 3. We're going for the 7 until then the Bledisloe ain't going anywhere. Well, the problem is, Australia and some of their other games of this Rugby Championship have done just that. They have ended up going for that little bit more aggressiveness, and we saw it in the later stages up against Argentina. In that first match where they were able to beat the Pumas, they went for the jugular and tried to win the game. But we haven't seen that as of yet. Do we think Tavatava Nawai will fade into the background? Well, he's currently injured. So for now, he's going to be out of the equation. But until he comes back, maybe in November, if he's lucky, he might actually be out till next year. So in that case, he might be down the pecking order just a little bit. However, the All Blacks have a better bench than the Wallabies, says Driss. And they need the ABs back to take control back, allowing Aussies go wide too easily. I have no idea what David is on about. I don't even know what that means. We have got the Tupaea for a hat-trick, says Memento. And hashtag fire Joe Schmidt, says Alexander. And did Roygaard have an impact in the first half? He had a couple decent moments. I will say not as impactful as he was in the last game up against the Australians as Proctor injured. I don't think he played badly last week. Proctor never scored. But good centres give the wingers the try, says Alan Smith. So no injury that we know of for Proctor, but I think Razor just rewarded Quinn Tupaea for the way that he was able to play off the bench in the last game. And that's the thing, like Billy Proctor, for a majority of this Rugby Championship, hasn't done much wrong. He's been quiet in some regards, but then at the same time, I think that's just down to the way that the All Blacks have been attacking as well. It's always drifting sideways, so it doesn't really give a lot of opportunity for Proctor to be able to play his natural game, other than by the time he gets the ball, he's kind of going sideways. We have got how long till play, please, says ambidextrous. So I would say we're only a few minutes away, if not maybe less than that. It feels like a relatively long halftime break, but then normally in Australia they do delay it a couple minutes as well. We have got their Scooters bad in any game, says Driss. I disagree. I think that Scott Barrett, he's been a solid enough option throughout this Rugby Championship for the Kiwis. He's been up there for tackles made. He also hits a lot of rucks that many people don't give him credit for. This game, though, he's been poor. 3 penalties against him so far. We have got the Australia side. Hopefully second half comeback. And I reckon Timothy would go better with Tupaea than Geordie. And Scooter is the best captain, says Dalmain. And players coming out, says Phil. Yep, just making their way onto the field at Optus Stadium, which is looking like a picture at the moment. There was a bit of rain in the first half. Not sure how heavy it is going to be for the second. We have good there. Does the channel show the game? Sadly, not any match footage or audio will get us taken straight off YouTube, so we are unable to show it, but we are going to be doing the play-by-play commentary. We have also got Springboks versus the Pumas just around the corner that we will be covering on the channel too. The way that the current live standings sit, New Zealand are on 19 points for this Rugby Championship, which would put them 4 clear of the South Africans. I wish I told you Tupaea, says Muku. And then also can't help but wonder how good Tupaea would be if that grub Swain hadn't croaked him, says X there. And Cody must be the captain. Does your dumb GF have 2 vaginas? Have you done some crack or something, David? Because I know that a few people in the chat were quite keen for some last week, but that's an interesting... Is that supposed to be an insult? I could say something, but I'm not going to. I was going to say just more holes, but now second half, it is raining heavily at the moment. We have got the ABs need to stop making mistakes, says Andrew. And also we have got you have good name pronunciation of the Māori names, says learning Te Reo. And also ABs need to stop making the mistakes. The second half just starting, says Patrick. And out there as well. But we are back underway for this match at Optus Stadium. The win record at the moment is 1-1. The way that these two sides sit at this location. Now nicely taken. Well done by Geordie Barrett with it looking a lot more slippery for the second half. I think they need to give Scott Barrett a break. He's a liability. And not a great leader, says Bulgani. Well, that's the thing. They've got Tui Pilotu off the bench and they'll have to decide when to use him in this case. Because I don't think you can take Fabian Holland off with the way that he's been going throughout the early stages of this match. He's got a couple crucial steals. We have got the Stormers of the Broncos. It could be a good one. I hope that the Broncos can do what they did last week and really step up to the challenge, although they were down by a lot in their game up against the Panthers. That's going to be an overthrown line out. Looked like it might have been a knock-on from Holland, but play on is the call from Matthew Carley. Now Geordie Barrett trying to straighten with his run before he is tackled. In the middle of the field, Cam Roygaard going back to Quinn Tupaia. Grubber in behind, steeply bouncing into the hands of Harry Potter. Kick this one high. Does not find the touchline. I'm going back infield. Leroy Carter. This is the most open space that we've seen for him all throughout the game. He's tackled by Mick Wright. Off to the left again. Simon Parker in behind McKenzie. Trying the little grubber. Will Jordan chasing after it. But again, it's just going straight into the hands of Max Jorgensen. It's starting, I'll be honest, with the way that the tactics are from New Zealand, you can see that it isn't actually a Beauden Barrett problem per se with those kicks in behind. We are seeing it often from Geordie Barrett as well as McKenzie in this game. Now another step. Joseph Suali'i just jogging at the moment before he is tackled low by Scott Barrett. Tane Edmere cleaning the ball up. Rules it as backwards. And good evening from Sydney. Says, Bite, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. What do you think the final score is going to be? My prediction for this game was 38-23 in favour of New Zealand. And that may not be a mile away. If New Zealand score 3 more tries and then Australia get themselves 2 tries converted, they would get them over. Oh, loose ball. Chuck there from McWright looking for a loop around from one of his teammates, but it went straight into the hands of Cody Taylor. Manages to steal it back for New Zealand. Now Roygaard, 40 metres out from the line for the Kiwis. Ducking under that one was to Mighty Williams, deciding that he wanted a little bit more pace on the ball. Savia going on the outside to Leroy Carter. Down the wing, trying to offload it back inwards and does just that. Harry Wilson all over Savia now. The ball's still there for the All Blacks. Now back to the halfway line, so losing a few metres in the process there. Fabian Holland thought about the offload, but Hooper does well with the tackle and stopping any chance of that ball coming free. Leroy Carter now trying to step around. He's already got himself 1 try in this matchup. Low tackle made by Fraser McWright, adding to his tally at the moment. He sits second in the overall standings, but I believe at the end of this game he will be sitting number 1 up until South Africa do play Argentina. Now McKenzie goes to Lakai, bit of a fumble with the ball. Now kicking in behind Roygaard. This might not quite be a 50-22. It's a very nice kick from Roygaard, but I believe it was just inside of the Australian half. And Crusaders front row, says Michael. And also we have there, what is the time there at the moment? It is currently 12:12 a.m. New Zealand time, so just after midnight for us here in New Zealand. We're going to be going right through to about 7 a.m. I believe. In fact, it will be a bit later than that, 7:45. Because we are doing the Argentina versus South Africa match, as well as in the URC. It is going to be the Bulls versus Leinster for that match. Now ready to throw this ball in. Nicely taken by the Wallabies. Jake Gordon going back across to Tom Hooper. Now looking for the steal and the breakdown, this time Whaiana Nuku. There's been a lot of times where the ball has been well protected by both of these sides when it comes to that collision and the breakdowns. Kicking downfield, Gordon from inside of his own 22 gets it into touch. Very good clearing kick. Down towards the halfway line, New Zealand will have the line out. We have got there how far in field does the Aussie hooker need to stand to throw it in. Yeah, something that they don't really check too often. Oh, Nick White actually in the the coaching box there. In this case. Avocado don't, says David there. I assume he's talking about avocados in some regard. We have got there a very fair man while commentating, very professional man, says Sanelli, and we are going to be back for that next gap between Argentina and South Africa, but a massive round of applause here for James Slipper. Getting a proper send-off from this Optus Stadium crowd. There is a bit of a standing ovation for that man. 151 caps. And slip a legendary, says Studs raised there. Now, going back across to the right-hand side, Whainā Nuku. Now, taking that one very nicely for the ABs, and we'll hit the likes. Says Nicole, yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that like button. Oh, that's an ugly collision. Len Ikitau going into the challenge a little bit too high and did take a nasty knock to maybe even in the teeth. Oh, going back for the penalty advantage. This is going to be for a high shot. Going to be an all-nighter for Hamish. It certainly is head-to-head contact there, says the trooper. And yeah, the way that Ikitau kind of grabbed at his face after it, and this is a double blow of the whistle, they're going to be checking this one. Like they've said that this one is not going to be too good here. They're looking at the actions of Len Ikitau. Technical yellow card. And yeah, they are up right there for Len Ikitau. He's starting to walk towards the sideline by the looks of it. He might feel like he's got the yellow card here. And Aussie come first. Well, first and last time I will support you. Please show the OBs. They are past tense, says Ritzema. Damn man, and so small score, says Karen there. Right, it's going to be a yellow card to Len Ikitau, so that is now their second of this matchup. So Hooper earlier on. And does the Pie have to go for an HIA, says Rodney. They will probably assess him just during this break, seeing as they had a minute or two, so they'll work out whether or not he does need the head knot. The benefit for him did look like it hit him kind of on the cheek or the jaw rather than on the full-on, you know, he looks fine to Pie. He's had a bit of a conversation there with the referee as well, Matthew Carley. He's just saying, yeah, I'm all good. The doctors checked me, and we're good to go. Now we have got there, this is where ABs can finish the game. Says Patrick, the scrum reminds me of reversing my dad's Bucky uphill in the second half, says Andre, and never a yellow, just a rugby incident. I made no effort to get low, says the trooper, and I don't know if it's a red. I feel like had Tupai taken a bit more impact, maybe they would look at it being upgraded, but I don't see that as any more than a yellow. And hopefully they don't rule it as a red. In this case, Roy Gard with a sniping run almost going through, looks for the offload, goes to Taniela Tupou with the ball, who has made his way onto the field for Alan Alatoa. Kick downfield from the Aussies now. Will Jordan looking to run it back. You can see him pretty much squinting the eyes, trying to avoid getting rain in them. Now McWright in the breakdown. Oh, what a turnover that is for the Wallabies again. McWright, that is his second or his third in this matchup. And we have got there, who says Jaya? And also just tackled lower, says I Lollipop. And there as well. But now this will be a chance to be able to kick this one towards the sideline for the Australians. And he's doing a terrible job in cleaning the ruck, says the trooper. I think it was just that break there from Jordan. They didn't have anyone with him. Holland tried to cover the ground. But we're going to see it here. He ends up taking collision. Yeah, there's three guys arriving. Geordie Barrett, Fabian Holland, and Tamaiti Williams. But by then already, you see McWright in there lightning quick and managed to get the steal. We have got there our sprinkles our mat before kickoff for good luck, says Andre. Now, ready to throw this one in. Currently, the penalty count is 7-7 between these two teams. A momentum change. I would say that Australia, throughout the second half, you know, they're normally pretty handy. We've seen it in their other matches of the Rugby Championship. This one will be no different. That one wasn't the straightest line out, but this time led away by Matthew Carley. Now Tom Hooper, collision with Peter Larkai, who does drag him down 40 metres out from the line. Suali'i with the inside ball to Harry Potter, almost able to find that gap and still yet to score their first try of the match here for the Australians. They are sitting second in the overall standings for tries scored with 20. Actually, I think they're on 17. I may have lied there. But now, a little bit of a clean out in the breakdown. Well controlled by Australia to keep it on their side. And the penalty again. Quick tap taken by Jake Gordon, showing his pace as he does make the extra 10 metres for the side. McWright looking off to the right-hand side. So this is where we have seen Australia turn down what would have been a relatively easy three. In this case, Taniela Tupou, the good hands, bit of hesitation from McWright. Now, Filippo Dungunu tackled low by Leroy Carter onto the ball for Peter Larkai. Just lost his footing in the last moment. Wide channel. Harry Wilson puts the grubber in behind. Simon Parker controls the ball. And he'll go back now for the goal line dropout. High tackle says, hey, no, whereas Ruben going on. The thing is, like, you've got that scenario here, how normally Ruben Love gets like 2 minutes at the end of a game. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but it actually isn't. I'm hoping that they'll give him a solid 25, 30 minutes here, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Right, the yellow will stay a yellow for Len Ikitau as well. How will this misconversions come back to Hort, New Zealand? Let's hope not. Says Paul. Yeah, so far, McKenzie, I believe, has missed 3 or 2 today, I think it is. This point in time, big run back from Tom Hooper. 49 minutes through Gordon. Going away to the right-hand side, runs straight at Fabian Holland there for Billy Pollard. Now Hooper inside ball to Taniela Tupou. Rob Valentini, I believe, is yet to make his way onto the field as well. Although I believe he will go on for Tom Hooper. Kick him behind from Australia. Nothing really working there. And Will Jordan does take the mark. You can rent Pollard for a bag of rice a week. And Panthers for the win, says Kerr there. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. The Glasgow Warriors, good win in the URC for their first round. But it is great to see that you are here and doing well, hopefully. And what is the score? Says Benjamin at the moment. The score is 17 points to 9. That sounds like another HIA is about to take place here. The All Blacks bench, it sounds like there is a little bit of movement happening now too. And also David is on some hard stuff at the moment, says Silent. It's not kicking the ball away, says Jimbo. Yeah, both of these sides, I think, have been a little bit guilty of doing that throughout this match at this point in time. Thrown in now, Wallabies, the position on the halfway line. And it's bucketing down, says Phil. Yeah, it is absolutely pouring in Perth. I think that same weather is expected for Twickenham later on when the Argentines go head-to-head with South Africa. I will mention that is only 90 minutes away from the kickoff of that contest. Now, All Blacks up a little bit too quickly. Getting themselves penalised for offside, or at least they would be. Little chip of mine from Jorgensen, so they'll go back now for that penalty. And we have to get how much time is left. Still another 30 minutes remaining here. And the All Blacks are still rather narrow. The score is still rather narrow. Anything is possible. Absolutely. If Australia can score themselves their first try of the match in the near future, they have given away 3 penalties in a row here, the All Blacks. Right, what is the decision here from the Aussies? It looks like it's going to be the corner again for this match. Australia will look directionless. Yeah, I think both sides have had a bit of a struggle here in terms of finding their rhythm. And I don't know whether or not it's the wet conditions that are just impacting them just a little bit. But yeah, something about it has been far from smooth for both of these sides throughout this match. Tane Edmund, perhaps that will be the change that they need to do. This is the wrong choice. I have a feeling. Tui Pelotu's coming on. That is not the wrong choice. But the fact that Fabian Holland is going off here, he's been one of the standouts for New Zealand. I get that Scott Barrett's your captain, but if Artie Savi is still out there on the field, you can surely leave Holland out there a bit longer. He's made a huge amount of tackles too. Loose ball picked up by Quinton Boyer. Passes off to Leroy Carter, who will sink it downfield. Jordy and Tobias, the difference between the teams, says Jimbo there. A bit of a slippery one for Joe Schmidt. Takes it nicely, protecting his head, but over the ball. New Zealand just not quite able to get that steal again. And the weather is certainly playing its part, says John Wilson there. And yeah, it's been a bit of an awful weather day for a bit of rugby. First half didn't look too bad, but second half has certainly looked like it is absolutely bucketing down. Now, big bump off from Taniela Tupou. Hi, Francois, says Mark. Rolling this one back. Gordon back inside of his own 22 now for the Australians. Should have kicked for the 3, says the Trooper. Now Gordon going towards the sideline. Does get it into touch, and they have lost a lot of territory there for the Australians. And again, just not going for the 3. And we can't ban a South African whānau for swearing, yet leave the English swear words. It's not fair for South African brothers and sisters. No swearing, okay, says Johnny Blaze. And play the percentage in this weather. Should be taking the 3, says X. Yeah, I do think in these type of games, you know, it's unfortunate because it's going to be very hard to win it from where they are sitting, if that makes sense, because of just going for the 3s. But at the same time, they'll probably turn down 3 or 4 chances, which would actually have put them in the lead in this case. And why take Fabian Holland off? Yeah, I would have thought that he'd stay on, but I guess it's because of Barrett's captaincy, working on the theory of having him later on in the game. to make the difference. Big drive and tackle there on Simon Parker by Suali'i. All Blacks on the halfway line to Mighty Williams. Wrestled down by the replacement loose head Tom Robinson for the Aussies. Now McKenzie looking for another up and under, playing to the conditions. Geordie Barrett chasing after it. Knocked back by Tane Emir. Goes to Gordon and almost managed to sneak through, bit high from Savia, and the penalty goes the way of New Zealand. And Leroy Carter, the man who manages the steal. Carter is a live wire, is playing at 150%. I was curious about the shot from Savia, whether or not that was a tad high. What's the match time at the moment? It is 54 minutes through in this contest. Geordie Barrett, they are looking for the corner now, New Zealand here. But the exact match time for me is 53 minutes, 45 seconds now. I know he was on the ball initially, Artie Savia. In fact, no, that was a legal tackle. Looking at the replay there, he's done very well to keep it down. Line out time, hopefully another AB strike close out to the line. Good job, says Thomas. And there's, I will mention anyone who is new. Of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I think I've mentioned it only like once or twice on this whole live stream. But we are currently sitting one subscriber away from 73,500. If you do want to help us get there, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, Geordie Barrett, short ball. On off now, Scott Barrett. That was a huge collision with Rob Valentini and a bit of push afterwards from Scott, who was not happy with the shot. Now Roygaard pops it up to Cody Taylor. They're in a good attacking position at the moment now for the New Zealanders. Roygaard going short side off to, oh no, penalty. Going the way of Australia to Mighty Williams. Playing a man past the ball. Gets marched back 10 as well for back chat to Matthew Carley. Take out after the ball and then did say that he did nothing wrong. So got marched. That was almost March 15, in fact, for to Mighty Williams. And subscribe, says ambidextrous there. The Southern Hemisphere are going to be the world leaders come Rugby World Cup in 2027, says Ritzema. I think 80,000 is possible by Christmas. Oh, we'd be doing pretty well, but, you know, anything is possible. The November internationals are definitely going to be the other busy stage, but anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Maybe 80,000 should be the goal by the Christmas period. See whether or not we can get there. Hasn't taken any back chat today, huh? Says the Big V8 Show. He certainly isn't. Been strict from the get-go with the way that he's going to referee this game, and both sides, up until that point, had kind of adapted to it. So is the score still 9-17? It is. After 55 minutes in this matchup now, rolling maul for the Australians, sitting around the halfway line at the moment after a decent kick downfield. Relieves some of that pressure. Gordon goes to Taniela Tupou, breaking the line now. Thor sitting 40 metres out from the All Blacks line now for the Australians. Tui Pelotu slow to get back on side. I'd like to think he wouldn't have an injury already, only been on the field for the last 2 minutes of this match. As well, Jordan playing. He is indeed playing his 50th match for New Zealand. Low tackle made by Peter Lakai again. Off to the right-hand side. Not a lot of go forward at the moment for the Australians. 5 phases in a row where they have only made maybe 2 or 3 metres by 30 points a day at Twickenham. Says Ritzema. Now, Jake Gordon going for the box kick again. They were just outside of the 22. This one, bit too much distance on it. And the mark is called by Geordie Barrett. Wallabies, they are just playing. Oh, he may have taken a bit of a shot to the stomach there, Barrett. And brilliant take under pressure, says Lyle. And rudderless by the Wallabies. Yeah, it just seems like the wrong choice. In fact, that might have been a little bit lower than the stomach, if you know what I'm saying, for that shot for Geordie Barrett. We're going to see the replay now. Oh, the knee right into the middle of the legs. Right into the... Oh, it might have been the thigh. He might have got lucky. May not have quite got it in the bread basket. I thought you would have to be on your feet to claim a mark. Says Ali Wood. Well, I think he took the catch first. And I think he marked it as he was falling down, I think is the way that they've ruled that one. 11 for McKenzie. Says half court, not the crown jewel. Says Novmum there. 23 minutes remaining in this contest. Did I just hear them say they're taking Quintupire off for Rieko Ioane? Justin Marshall's just called it an interesting change there. So they've taken Fabian Holland, who's been debatably one of the best, if not the best forward in this match, off. And now they've taken off Quintupire, who's been the best back, off as well. For their 2 changes here. Now, Geordie Barrett, he's going to be able to boot this one downfield. To buy off his madness, says Studs Race. And that one will not find touch. Bring Tossie on, Razor. Now going back across. Now step there from Dongunu. He is tackled by Artie Savia. My 55 on the screen hasn't changed. It is now up to 57 in terms of this game clock. So Rico is on the field for Tupaia. There were talks of whether or not maybe Ruben Love has made his way on for Damien McKenzie as well. At this point in time for the Kiwis, another tackle made by Savia on Sualeti Gordon. Going back across to Tom Hooper with a nice step. And also, well, that's it for the All Blacks. Then if Ioane is on. Oh, kick downfield from Ruben. Oh no, that is actually still McKenzie. So Ruben Love. Where is Ruben Love? He is not on the field as of yet. That one's going to have a bit too much on it. And that ball just goes dead all. Big collision there, Jordan and Potter. We'll go right back to where Australia kicked it from. We have got their changes as good as a holiday, and the All Blacks playing like they're on holiday, says Leon. Yeah, this one, Jordan just watching it closely, and it does end up going dead. I think Harry Potter was trying to say that Jordan was shepherding it out. The Kiwi clock is a minute ahead of the Aussie coverage. Says Phil. Seeing the 107 metres made by Jorgensen. Now, in my preview, I did make the claim that I thought that Jordan and also Jorgensen could both make 100. I don't think we've seen the 100 from Will Jordan as of yet. But Leicester at centre, Ioane on the wing. Says half court there. Looks like also Jake Gordon here is going to make his way off the field for the Wallabies. That is going to be for Ryan Lonergan. Did have his international debut last week. And is Love going to go on? Says Jaya there. 59 minutes through in this contest. Still another 21 remaining. This is still a close enough game that it could go either way. We've got the donation from Kerr as well with a super sticker. Thank you very much, mate. Greatly appreciated. Look at the state of that ship. Isn't it a thing of beauty, all the lights and whatnot. We have good there, Jordan. Has been very composed fullback. Says Jimbo. Now run forward from Ioane. Breaks through a tackle. And it's taken out in the next one. Now Roygaard passes off to Scott Barrett, tackled by Valentini, who's in the breakdown, looking for the steal here for Australia. And he manages to get the steal, Rob Valentini, bringing the impact from the bench. Going nowhere slowly, says Thomas. And also Roygaard is class, says Lywan at this moment. Neither of these teams deserve the trophy, says Andre. Yeah, they've been even in all the wrong ways for this match. I feel like they've both had just as poor of a discipline as each other. Their kicking game at times has been a bit off too. Rob Valentini just getting in that breakdown. Cody Taylor thought that he had got the clean out, but Valentini was still there. It's Love on yet, not that I know of. I feel like they're going to give him 5 minutes at the end, and it's going to be quite annoying. I have got there another donation from Kerr with the like and subscribe. Anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Oh, line out overthrown by the Wallabies. It means now that Dongunu again has to chase back from inside of his 22. Big shot there from Tamaiti Williams, who lined him up early. Taylor, counter ruck coming from the Crusaders hooker. This ball not clean at all for the Aussies, but now Billy Pollard does get it into his hand. New Zealanders need to commit more to the rucks. And bring on Love, says half court. And there as well, told to use it again, Ryan Lonergan. And this one up high. That one, that looks like it might be out on the full there. I believe he was outside of his 22 where he took it, Ryan Lonergan. So his first touch of the day is a mistake. And we have good there. Do you think people overrate Harry Potter because of the name? Maybe a little bit. I think it's more so they just use puns because of his name. Don't they? But he is a very strong player throughout Super Rugby. We haven't seen that next gear found, I would say, yet at international level. He's still trying to find his feet. In that regard, looks like Tamaiti Williams, very slow. Getting back over to Cody Taylor, he's starting to feel it. They've got George Bauer off the bench, another Crusader to make his way on. In the near future, Abe's all the way, come on. See, there's Rawiti there. Now going to the front there, a little bit of a set piece between Scott Barrett and Cody Taylor. The All Blacks 25 metres out from the Wallabies line. One more try here might almost secure the game, but we are into that stage. The last 20 minutes where the New Zealanders have struggled throughout this rugby championship and when the Australians have thrived. Roygaard, cross there to Damien McKenzie, attack and run from Leroy Carter. Once again, going for the kick and behind. It will be in the in-goal area, can be forced down by Tane Edmed. And again, the goal line dropout. These two sides, in terms of their kicking in behind, have been absolutely awful today. I don't think either of them will be too happy. Tupaia, he did score off that one of Geordie Barrett, though. Perhaps that is the theory that both sides are working with, saying that that is the one chance that made all of these 50 kicks worth it. And let's go, Will Jordan. Says Paya there. And the hell was that, says Stephen? That was a blown attacking opportunity from the All Blacks, is what you call that one. As long as the Wallabies don't score next. And the grain-producing parts of the US are really all in the middle, hence stomach. Says Justin there, but now on the halfway line, Peter Larkai getting to build up some steam, the type of run you normally see from Harry Wilson in that 8 jersey for the Aussies, but this time the All Blacks 8 for his first start of international rugby. Thought he'd give it a go. That's a high tackle from Rob Bellatini on Geordie Barrett, so New Zealand playing under penalty advantage. Will Jordan almost breaking the line, little offload over the top, finds Artie Savia, 2 men on the outside, but Savia cuts back inwards. Ball is available. Lonergan's going to clean it up and they'll go back for another penalty. Another high tackle, says Tainui. Yeah, we've seen quite a few throughout this matchup. In fact, that's about our 5th high tackle between the sides throughout this game, I believe. And we have there come on the brothers. Says Linky in there. But yeah, Geordie Barrett collected high by Rob Bellatini. And also we have there, that's to the head, yellow. Yeah, it's kind of a slapping blow from Bellatini. I don't think there was any sort of purposeful intent in it. It looks like New Zealand actually going to be lining up the 3 points here. And come on the box. Says Byron after leaving the ball unprotected at the ruck, lucky for the advantage to save them, says X. I'm more confused than a gypsy looking at mortgage interest rates, says Jason. Do you fancy the neon green boots? I don't mind them. I feel like the fact that they're all wearing them kind of looks better than if it was just 1 or 2. Although normally, depending on who those 1 or 2 are, normally they stand out like a sore thumb. I think Australia, they look like they've got about 4 different coloured boots out there on the park. And that one straight down the middle from Damian McKenzie. Making the score 20 points to 9 in favour of New Zealand. Still a long way to go. And this contest, why are we making changes? Are we downsizing? Says Rafiti there. Yeah, I haven't understood the subs as of yet in terms of the ones that have been made. But at the same time, you know, Ruben Lovey's still waiting for his opportunity to make his way on. All big knock on from Leicester. Whainga Nuku has gone into touch. That kick was insanely straight through the post. Yeah, it seems like Mackenzie's radar has found its rhythm throughout the second half now. Harcase gets the hardest kick of the night. It always happens that way, though. You know, they'll slot them over from 50 metres out and then struggle with the one straight out in front of the posts. Joe Schmidt and Nick White, not a lot of smiles coming from that coaching box at the moment for the Wallabies. They have been far from their best throughout this game. But the thing is, they aren't out of it at this point in time. At the moment, 4th quarter points. Australia have got 64 compared to New Zealand, who have got 37. We have got there, Sasha's going to be the Tiger Woods of rugby, minus the bad attitude, says Ritzema. And whereas James O'Connor, I don't think they'll be a mile away from putting him onto the field too. That scrum moving far too much. You do see that Samasoni Tolkiaho, he is also onto the field, but Cody Taylor, Null, as well as Tamaiti Williams are still out there. Another knock on from Whainga. Yeah, about his 3rd in this match. That's the one thing that's let him down throughout the contest, is the amount of knock-ons that he has had throughout the game. Like they are saying there, completely new front row for the Australians at the moment with Robinson, Nassar and Tupou. And have a good day, says Jeff. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. You're excited for that next game. Next game taking place in 20 minutes' time, or at least the build-up for that match taking place in 20. We are going to be continuing on and starting up for that coverage of South Africa versus Argentina. Big collision between the 12s of Lena Katau and Geordie Barrett, but the Wallabies in position here. Sitting with 16 minutes left on the clock. They need a try and they need one soon, or even just some form of points will be a massive bonus for them. Alan Alaratoa, I think that time, Tini Alatupo with the carry. Ahmed, quick hands from Jorgensen, goes to Dungunu, down the wing, tackled by Ioane. And that is an advantage for a high shot against Rico there. Jeremy Williams tries to step, low tackle made by Wallace Satiti. I believe by the looks of it, Satiti is onto the field for, I would say it's Peter Larkai. Looking at that, now ball on the outside doesn't work out for the Wallabies after the knock-on, so they will go back for the original penalty advantage. And the scoreboard says Dalmain. And I hope the Springboks versus Argentina will be more entertaining than this match. Well, the weather's supposed to be very similar, so there is a chance that it looks very much so the same with a lot of handling problems. Score update, please, at the moment. 20 points to 9 with 15 minutes remaining. Hopefully the online scoreboard gets its update very soon. Going to see that collision, though. Damien tell you what, Damien McKenzie did make contact with his shoulder to the head of Len Ikitau, and it was not checked. Our ribbon go on, please, says Jaya. Looks like Tamaiti Williams, he will now make his way from the field. That is going to be for George Bauer. And also Fletcher Null, he is off the field for Pasilio Tossi. So those are the two other changes. Looking through the back line, still no Ruben Love in this contest, so that should tell you exactly how much they back him as an option for the ABs. Now 5 metres out from the line, the Wallabies dragged down just short of the try line. This could be danger time for New Zealand. They have not received a yellow card for over 200, in fact over 300 minutes of rugby, but they may be close to one now. Bauer has to make the tackle 1 metre short. Now, Taniela Tupou, big sell on a dummy, Artie Savia-esque. With that one, pick and go now. Josh Nasser, just 1 metre short of the line. Ikitau digging round for the ball. And, right. I think Matthew Carley's received word here from his touch judge that there may have been a try. Okay, so Carl Dixon's just saying there, it's either that he's got that ball down or maybe he was already a part of the ruck, in which case it would not count as the try, but this could be the chance for the Aussies that they've needed for 66 minutes of this contest. They almost got themselves that try in the earlier stages of the game. That was taken away for Alan Alatoa. I think it was a try, says the trooper there. Yeah, they looked extremely close to that try line. We're going to see it here. So it was short initially. Then Ikitau thinks that he's got a grounding here. So it was initially short. Oh, was it? I think he was just short of that try line. Then from Ikitau, they have to decide whether or not... Oh, tell you what. If he's not a part of the ruck, that's on the line there from that angle. So I think that Ikitau may have just got a sneaky little one here. And we'll get the Wallabies back into this game. We're going to update the score. That may be too optimistic, but we'll see whether or not it's taken away. They've already had one taken away, so we are used to doing it. If worse comes to worse, who got the try would be Len Ikitau, who was able to score it if that is the case. Right, the first player is short. He is not bound into the ruck. This is going to be a try for the Wallabies here, and they are back into the contest. The final 20 minutes, we've mentioned it time and time again. That is when the Australians come alive. And it looks like it's going to be the case in this contest as well, but it has taken 67 minutes to get that first try. But now it's on the board, and that also takes away the bonus point of New Zealand. And try time, who scored it is Len Ikitau, who didn't manage to score it. Now Tane Edmed, important kick here. This is to get the gap down to less than the 7. 3 from 3 at the moment for Edmed off the kicking tee against the points. Says Haino. And Edmed hits the post and it bounces back out. That post has not been generous today. McKenzie did the same thing in the first half, and the score remains now 20 points to 14 off the Len Ikitau try. Australia has a bonus point. They certainly do. They are within 7 at the moment. So they would receive that bonus point with the way that this is currently sitting. English ref avenging Ireland, says Bagri, although there was a try. Len Ikitau not in that breakdown, so is eligible to go for that ball, and did it in a similar way to what we see from some halfbacks with just that little pop round the side. Those posts are cursed, says the trooper there. Now kicking it high, Lonergan down towards the halfway line, nicely taken by Geordie Barrett. Have we seen the momentum shift here since New Zealand have taken off Tupaia and Holland in this matchup? So I would almost say yes, but then that could also be down to the way that the Wallabies have played throughout the later stages of this game. Rob Valentini certainly bringing an impact since making his way on. Now Will Jordan running it sideways. Big collision between a couple Wallabies defenders, and I think Harry Potter took a nasty knock to his head there. He is wobbly out on the wing. Yeah, oh no, it's a nasty cut above the eyebrow of Harry Potter. Pasilio Tossi, first run from him. Now Roygaard back into the pocket. McKenzie thought about going for a pass, but instead will just kick this one back down the middle of the field, and it's taken by Jorgensen. Now low tackle made by Geordie Barrett. 12 minutes remaining in this contest. Still 6 points separating these two sides. At the moment, in terms of the odds at the moment, Australia are $4.50 underdogs for this contest. Now Rob Valentini picking it up. Looks like Fraser McWright may also have an injury here. He does not look in a good way. Looks like he's struggling to get back up to his feet. Might be a right ankle by the looks of it. Being told to use it. Tyler McKenzie kicking it, says Stephen's uncle. And Australia, oh, where'd that one go? A cut above the eyebrow, Harry Potter, yes. Did look like there was blood trickling down the face. Australia rugby players dead for the first 60 minutes of an 80-minute game. Well, the thing is, everyone always says Australia will slow down. But they actually get quicker as the match progresses. It's normally when the other sides are starting to tire out that Australia start to find more possession and more momentum. Yeah, this does not look good for Fraser McWright. Ikatel. In fact, this time it was Edmed going up for that high ball. It is on the side of the Australians, but New Zealand with the penalty right. This is where they have to take a three-pointer, I would think. I don't think they can take the risk and move in Love and Ratama, says the AI underdog. You see them both going up for that ball. Came off Will Jordan. And then Tony Edmed may be just able to regather that one. And then the counter-ruck from Rico Ioane actually started it there. And then backed up by the forwards and Will Jordan to get the penalty. We have got there now the question, 3 or touch. I think you have to take 3 here. You're up by 6 at the moment with just the 10 minutes remaining on the clock. McKenzie did slot over his last one nicely. Looks like Fraser McWright's going to try and continue in this game. He's in real pain at the moment. He's grimacing as they're wrapping that ankle up. Surely there's someone else, but I think they've made all their changes here, the Wallabies. So McWright's going to tough it out and see if he can continue. Harry Potter just getting that potential cut above that eyebrow dealt with and take 3 for the All Blacks, says Marlon there. I'm going touch, says Haino. Also, you're going for the win here rather than you're going for the jugular, I guess I should say. But a big collision there with McKenzie and Edmed. And they're just showing some of the highlights of this game. Whainānuku and Suali'i going at each other. Big smile on the face of Whainānuku. The blood trickling down the face of Alana Alatoa. She's been a physical type of outing between these two sides as best they know how at Optus Stadium. Such a good tackle from Tamaiti Williams in slow-mo as well. I think you take a few minutes off with it, says Haino. So it looks like McKenzie is going for the posts. Looking to make it a split of the points by more than the 7 margin. Be 14-20 to the ABs. Says Vitalai it is at the moment, but if they do manage to get themselves a 3-pointer here, they will move up to 23-14. Kenzie, he's sitting 2 from 5 tonight. He has been far from his best in that first half, but second half, he actually sorted over one of his more difficult kicks throughout the day. Fantastic commentary and name pronunciation. Well done, well done. Says ambidextrous, and we are, of course, going to be back for that next game taking place between Argentina and South Africa, but that kick's gone over from McKenzie, extending the lead to the 9 points, 23 points to 14. The ABs get this, it's ball game. I see 10 minutes is a long time, though. And Australia do know how to fire back-to-back. So I wouldn't say it's done and dusted just yet. But it's getting closer. Is Love on? He is not on as of yet. And knowing the way that they use him, they'll probably put him on the wing for the final 3 minutes of this game. But now Whainānuku pumping his legs. Gets towards the halfway line for New Zealand. What's the real score at the moment? The real score is 23-14 with 9 minutes remaining. Now, Cam Roygaard looking to roll this one back again. Ratama, another player who has yet to make his way onto the field for New Zealand. But now, Going up for it, Geordie Barrett has knocked the ball on. Australia getting it back on their side. Double knock on there from both sides. It's going to be the knock-on advantage, although Edme did knock that ball on, so they could have easily gone back for that scrum, and now run forth from Josh Fluke, a youngster, playing in the number 23 jersey for this game. Robertson popping the ball up to Josh Nassar. And they'll go back for the initial knock-on that came from New Zealand, as they have found their Edme knock-on too. They'll go back now for the scrum. Made us stay up for this bad performance, ABs, says Alami. Yeah, hasn't been anywhere near the best, I think, for either of these sides throughout this game. Like, the fact that we are still within 9 points, I guess, does mean we at least have a good finish on the cards, or at least I'm hopeful for one for the final 8 minutes. Definitely if Australia have got themselves the attacking chance here, perhaps can get something moving, put Love and Ratama on. Sheesh. Are we 9 ahead? Says the AI. And yeah, looks like Fraser McRae, he is going to make his way from the field. He tried to continue in this game, but the ankle is hurting him too badly. How much do New Zealand need to win the Rugby Championship? They needed to win this game by probably around 50 points. But also, no matter what happens, it comes down to whether or not South Africa beat Argentina. It is their Rugby Championship to lose going into that final game. And that game is kicking off in 1 hour, 10 minutes time. Very close to starting. Isn't a kick up the backside class as assault, says Jason. And also a try from the Wallabies can make this final 10 minutes very interesting. And why the South Africa-Argentina game in Twickenham? Because of money, I believe. I think Argentina get paid more to have it in England than they do getting to happen in Argentina, or something along those lines. Now scrum feed, Dungunu. He is packing down on the side of the scrum, so they have decided to make James O'Connor a back, and Dungunu, he is going to be the forward for the final 7 minutes of this game. Now, he has got a lot of breakdown ability, and he's won a free kick there, not specifically him, but Australia in general. Backline movement, Tane Edme going on the outside. First touch of the day for James O'Connor as he's tackled by Ioane and Geordie Barrett. A throwback midfield combo for the All Blacks, although I think New Zealand may have found their 13 in Quinton Paya with the way that he has played throughout this game. He is also right on the cards for a man of the match performance close to the sideline. I see Ratama is now out there on the field. And same with Ruben Love. So the two getting 8 minutes at the end of this game. Penalty goes the way of New Zealand. Well, Ratama thought about taking it quickly, but I think at this stage they have to control the tempo of this game. Not go too crazy. I'm looking through. Okay, McKenzie is still out there. So I believe that they'll put Ruben Love on for, at a guess, Leroy Carter. Or maybe Whainānuku, one of those two. I didn't actually see who it was that they did with the switch, whereas Lovey is out there on the field now. But he is not playing as a 10 or a 15. I think he's out on the wing. And I think he's actually playing as a... This looks like he would be a right winger in this case. I'm not seeing Whainānuku or Carter just in this most recent couple phases. Now one more for the All Blacks, says Grant there. And 57% throughout this game of the possession going the way of the Wallabies. Now Samasoni Tolkiaho throws it in. It goes over the top of Scott Barrett, but waiting for it at the back was Artie Savia. It almost looked like a set piece there for the Kiwis. Dungunu trying to get that steal in the breakdown. And this is where they do need a massive turnover here for the Wallabies if they want any shot of being able to win this one. As Love on the wing, it does look that way. So he has spent more minutes for the All Blacks as a winger than he has as a fullback at this point in time. Unless Will Jordan maybe has transitioned to the wing. They may have made that little bit of a switch. Another advantage going against the Australians. No, Ruben Love, he is on for Whainānuku. I just saw Leroy Carter in back play. Now Ratama again going across to George Bauer. Still under that penalty advantage for the Kiwis. I would love nothing more than to get one more try. That would give them all drop ball from Ruben Love. Bad knock on there. And we'll go back for the initial penalty. 5 minutes now remaining on the clock. I think the New Zealanders have to kick for the corner here. Because at the moment, the way that it sits, if they score one more try, they get that bonus point back. And even though it doesn't actually change a lot in regards to what needs to happen in that South Africa versus Argentina game, it's just a little bit more on the board. It's a bit more pressure, if that makes sense. Now, points differential not quite where it needed to be for this match and the Kiwis. We need their bonus points, says Stephen's uncle. The All Blacks now. Line out chance here for Samasoni Tolkiaho. about 5 metres out from the try line with just the 4.5 left on the clock. The second half, definitely this last 20 minutes, has gone very quickly. It's the weather. Says Lyle there. Now thrown in, stolen by the Australians, bouncing up into the hands of Tom Hooper. We've got there, when will Wallabies beat the All Blacks like they used to? Says the Hobbit. Well, this will make it an 11-match winning streak for the Kiwis. Charge down, cross kick for New Zealand now. Offload Jordan. Gets it to McKenzie. He will straighten with his run. Looking to run it straight at Tom Robertson. Which has not gone too well for the Kiwi first five. Now Geordie Barrett links up with Jordan. That was almost obstruction from Rico. Got a little bit out in front. I think Jordan may have hurt himself here. He looked like he was possibly wincing. And I haven't seen him return to his feet as of yet here for the Kiwis. A bit of a concern for their fullback who still hasn't walked back past. Now pick and go from Ratama. I'm hoping we get to see the wide angle shot soon to see if Jordan is still down. Artie Savia going to the right hand side, finds Scott Barrett. Looks like they are going to go to the right hand side again for Patrick Tuipulotu. I believe Jordan is now back up on his feet. Samasoni Taukiaho. A little bit closer. 10 metres out from the try line. Now pass across. Jordan's limping badly here. Looks like a left leg, lower leg is what he is dealing with. He's going to try and run here, but there's a knock on from Satiti. And they're knocked on by the Wallabies, so the scrum feed now for Australia. Scott Barrett is down with a bit of cramp. And we have got there, I hope the box wins, says Benjamin there. And that game is only an hour or so away. And it was the charge down from Wallace Satiti initially. Yeah, Jordan's not comfortable at the moment here. He looked like he was going to be willing to receive that pass, but he has now stayed down for a little bit longer. For his 50th test match. Looks like they're holding his knee here on that left side. Little Love dropped the ball. He did drop it for his first touch of the day. And then since then hasn't touched it again. And go the box, says Mark. Right. Looks like he wants to continue. I think I just read him say, no, I'll be, no wonder it hurts. He had his leg pretty much bent underneath him in the tackle of Max Jorgensen. He's slow moving around at the moment. Got the money, match points under 55.5. Put half on the Melbourne Storm to win, says Graham. And the Box win by 3. So yeah, it could be a close game at Twickenham. With the rain playing factor, of course, that running rugby is what South Africa would love to use. Right, it looks like he's going to try and continue in this game, Will Jordan, but that knee will not be feeling great at the moment. Jordan is a cheater. In what way? From going down with an injury? And time says Desvonde at the moment it is sitting with 2.5 minutes remaining. New Zealand actually do have the line out, 5 metres out from the line. I believe they found a penalty back over the other side of the field. Can't believe Union has done anything, or hasn't done anything about the hip drop yet, says Tony. Now ready to feed this ball into the line out. Samasoni Taukiaho. He's currently sitting, that's an early engagement from the Wallabies. So it is going to be the advantage for the Kiwis yet again. Savia. He's got this ball in his hands. It's like they're going to try and get this one shuffling sideways. Simon Parker breaking off the back, goes to Ratama. Now Geordie Barrett, McKenzie, skip pass, goes to Ruben Love. Bit of space to work with, low tackle on him, beautifully done. Tries to get back up and was going to get penalised, but they will go back across the field for the other advantage. And I hope the Boomers to win the comp, AB supporter. And also we have the Argies going for the pound. Sadly, Argentina, the only side at this stage that cannot win the Rugby Championship, but they can stop other sides from winning it. Okay, what's the early engagement at the line-out time? That's over. And also rolling ball not working, says side again. Neither side really getting it fully moving forward throughout this match. We have the Wallabies need more young players. Sort your stuff out, bro. So who are the young players, or who are the older players in the side that you would say aren't performing? Out of curiosity. Because I would say James Slipper up front was pretty solid from the get-go. Looking through at this side as well, they actually are one of the younger Aussie teams they could probably put together. With the exception of maybe James O'Connor, I guess. I need this bonus point, says Tony. Yeah, like I mentioned, it won't change the outcome in terms of if South Africa still win, they will win the Rugby Championship, but it would at least mean that New Zealand draw them for points in that regard. But now, looking to move forward here for Samasoni Taukiaho, just the 40. minutes remaining. Well, sorry, 40 seconds remaining. 40 minutes would be a little bit too long, I would say, for these two teams. Now Cortez Ratama looking to go off to the right-hand side, finds Geordie Barrett, off to McKenzie, slinging pass, bounces into the hands of Ruben Love, gets back up, he's going to be tackled by Suali'i. Now Ratama again, and now Rico linking up with Geordie Barrett. Oh, that is a bad knockout there for, I think that's Josh Fluke. Now Ratama was running in to try and check on him, and he's knocked out, says the trooper. Yeah, this will be a little bit of a stoppage here for this contest, ladies and gentlemen. It was a big collision between Fluke and Geordie Barrett. Good game, but the Aussies need the speed, and that's a knockout. They're sighted in the box. Got a match not built on. What a boring match. CSK, yeah, it hasn't quite been the eventful match that you'd expect for a last round of the Rugby Championship. The weather, it's played a bit of a factor in this matchup, as well as the fact that we've just seen so many. Yeah, that's a bad knockout for Josh Fluke, knocked out right from the collision with Geordie Barrett. But yeah, neither side have really found their full momentum throughout this 80 minutes, and, they'll be a bit disappointed. I think Australia won't be happy with the way that they've played here. New Zealand, they will be far from happy too. I love the rain, says Bayer, but fantastic commentary, says K. Jordan is a gay, says Mr. Clean. Jordan just got engaged like 3 weeks ago. Like, it wasn't even, there was like less than a month since he got engaged to a woman, fun fact. We have got there not enough tactical kicking. This game lacked that in development. Yeah, we saw a lot of kicking for no reason whatsoever, didn't we? Those grubbers in behind, and it just, with the exception of the Quintupire try, where you could argue that it did work, other than that, it just hasn't worked throughout the whole one. And just showing the highlights of the tries. Leroy Carter scoring himself his first try, so he did get himself the 3 tries from 3 games now for Leroy Carter. Thanks so much, Hamish. Appreciate it. See you all for the Springboks. We have got there, do you think Japan beat the Wallabies? I think it will be more competitive than some people think, mainly because Japan, throughout that Pacific Nations Cup, I think they were building a little bit of nice depth for their side, but I do still think that Australia should win that. But we will wait and see. We have got there, that technically is a tactical header. Doesn't count, says Cited. And take the W. Right, Josh Fluke is back up to his feet, but he will be making his way from the field. Just the 13 seconds remaining in this matchup. Is it full time yet? Not quite. 13 seconds is all they need to be able to close out this game. New Zealand will be chasing that bonus point. And then as soon as this game is over, we will be transferring straight over to that next live stream, which is going to be at South Africa versus Argentina. We have got their denial, says Mr. Clean. You're speaking from experience, or are you just, what about Will Jordan? Is it just the fact that, quite a few ladies do seem to like him, and it rubs you the wrong way? Leave Razor alone, says Jeff J. And also we get there, cheers, Hamish, says Gus. And go to the box, see you then. Mr. H says Memento, but now scrum feed for New Zealand. This game's still not quite over in this scenario. Now going off to the left-hand side, Cortez Ratama, big collision there. Now off to the left, Rico Ioane getting that little bit closer. Now another pick and go here. Ratama, he will go himself. He is again 1 metre short here. Wallabies defending to try and defend that bonus point. Now Tuipulotu, 1 metre away. Savia, the skipper, goes to George Bower, who's over. And New Zealand get that bonus point. It doesn't change a lot, but it will give them that little bit more, I guess, from this matchup. But it now means South Africa, no matter what, they still need that victory. And have to wait and see how it goes for that match. But nonetheless, that is going to be close to the full-time siren, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got there, yes, he needs to go All Blacks. I know, along the All Blacks. And also, I felt so sad for the Wallabies, says Dylan there. Yeah, it's probably been their worst game of the whole Rugby Championship for the Australians. They only got themselves the 1 try from an AB's fan, extremely boring game. Says Nana there. And also we have got there, thanks for your commentary, Amish. You did a great job, and great try for Bower. Is that his first test try? It might not be a mile off. He hasn't got 3, I can tell you that right now. He's less than the 3 number. They haven't shown it just yet for Bower, or maybe they did and I wasn't looking. Thank you, Hamish. See you in an hour. Although we are actually going live pretty much now for that next live stream. We will be starting up in 2 minutes' time for that South Africa versus Argentina match. So anyone who is new, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 75,000. So if you want to help us get there, be sure to hit that button. We are currently sitting less than 400 away from 74,000. So yeah, do help us get there if you can. But full-time score in this game, 28 points to 14. A bonus point win for New Zealand. So my score, New Zealand, I went by 15, but I was a little bit higher scoring. Didn't factor in the weather, which has definitely impacted the way that the two sides played throughout this contest. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We will be live on the channel in 1 minute's time. So be sure to check that out too. I will see you all for the next one.